Hello, kids. Welcome in. It is 12:04. May I be the first to say a good afternoon on this Monday, July 17th, 2023 at Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and my name is Matt Murphy. They allowed me another allotment of time, 3 solid hours of what we hope to be talk radio excellence. We'll get into that as soon as we get through the pleasantries. We'll get lumbering under our own weight. Hello. Good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a fabulous weekend. I'll tell you all about my weekend. I know every little inch of I-65 now because I traversed it 4 times between Nashville, Tennessee, and Montgomery, Alabama. That's what I did all weekend. And I'm not making that up.
What were you traveling for?
I will tell you in just a few moments there, Mace. That's what's called a professional radio tease. We make the listening up. We bait them in. We kind of reel them in, set the hook, and then off we go for the next 3 hours.
I'm just playing into it.
I know. I get it. There's Mason Fleming. He's controlling the experience this afternoon and all week long as Bell K is off this week. Headless Bell not here, so you might see Mason from time to time. You're looking good, by the way. I noticed.
I appreciate it. You look great.
You got you look a little lean. Look like you're taking off a couple of lbs, getting ready
Slimming
for the
down,
season.
Getting worked out.
I don't know what season, but you're getting ready for the season.
All of them.
Yeah, all the seasons. That's nice. That's good. You look solid. I'm not that you asked. I'm down 18 and a half pounds. That's okay.
That's impressive. I said you were looking good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. A little bro love. We'll hug later.
Not on camera.
No. But I will hug you. Unlike Dan Mandis. Dan Mandis threatens to hug people and then never does. But you can try to hug Dan Mandis. It's my understanding, speaking of Mandis, that, and by the way, my whiteboard behind my right shoulder, that's for Dan Mandis. I'm sending that message out to Dan Mandis. And if you want to know what the message is, you have to go over to Super Talk TV on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, and you can see it over my right shoulder. My right, your left. But that is for Dan Mandis. Because I hear a lot about this pickleball challenge, and I'm seeing no activity on it. I'm seeing no schedule. I'm seeing no practice. I'm seeing no nothing. And Mandis this morning says, I can't find a coach. That's what he told me. I can't find a coach. What do you mean you can't find a coach? You're a part of the Mount Juliet Pickleball Association, as I am. And they're all the time they're advertising Charlie Daniels Park Wednesday afternoon, 1 to 3. Free
easily.
lessons.
Yeah. It's not like he has the entire day after his show.
Mason Fleming, I make a commitment to you on this day. Mark it down, July 17th, 2023, this Monday. Do you know how much practice that I will do before I take on Dan Mandis in the Super Talk 99.7 WTN Pickleball Challenge?
Tell me, Mr. Matt Murphy.
Okay, I would like to say none, but I don't want to lie. A little.
How much is a little, though? Like
an hour.
30 minutes?
I just get on the court, figure out the rules, figure out the kitchen. I was telling you about the kitchen last week, right? Figure these things out and, how hard I got.
How to swing a paddle.
Look at
Oh. You got one.
Look at there.
Now that's impressive. Lowered a little bit. There you go.
Amazon delivered over the weekend. Let's see. Let's open this up. Show you guys. Let's just go ahead and get this out of the way so we can get on to some more important issues. There's a lot of things going on today, as you might expect. What with the weekend. Now, they're telling me, have you ever played pickleball?
I have not.
Okay, so someone on the super text line, help me out here once I get that up and running. So you get 4 balls.
Okay.
With the set, 2
Looks
yellow,
like
2
balls, yeah.
2 yellow, 2 orange. And they're saying that one of these are one of those is an outdoor ball and one of those is an indoor ball. But they do not designate which is which on the balls themselves. But I noticed the only difference are the size of the hole.
Yeah, I was about to say there's that. The yellow one looks slightly bigger, but it may just be because of the hole sizes. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think it's because of the hole size.
Yeah.
But I don't know which is which. What would you guess? And I've not looked this up. What would you guess?
My guess would be that the yellow one with the smaller holes is the indoor one. I don't know why, but I feel like.
See, I guessed exactly the opposite.
Interesting.
I guessed the opposite because I guessed the larger holes with outdoor wind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But anyway, there's apparently a difference. But then, this. Look at there. It's great for radio, by the way. I'm holding up my. I'm currently holding up my pickleball paddle with the little. Look at the little face. There's a crowd. See the crowd, the silhouette of the crowd, Mason.
So good.
And the crowd's yelling, and that's me right in the middle. And they love me. They absolutely love me.
I'm just saying, I put it as your future pickleball champion.
I'm so good at pickleball. They're all screaming for me. I'm going to do this the whole show. Thank you. Thank you. Whole show.
So good. So good.
All right, so I'm ready. I am ready. I got socks on. I got blue jeans. I could probably change into some shorty shorts. I plan
Just
on
cut the jeans.
Oh, that'd be good.
Wearing jorts.
That would be solid, actually. That would be pretty good. But anyway, I'm waiting on. I'm just waiting on Mandus. Just waiting on him to let me know when we're doing all this. And I told him that I would schedule the court if he needed me to. So if you've not heard anything about this and you have no idea what I'm talking about, somehow Mandus and I got ourselves into a pickleball challenge. I thought of Dan Mandus because I'm thinking of the July 26th event where Dan Mandus claims, and I did not hear this firsthand. This was on Nashville's Morning News, I was told. I heard it like third hand, so I can't. The veracity of this statement is in question. But it's my understanding that Dan Mandus said that he would hug the first 100 people that got to J Street Korean Grill and Bar in Hendersonville on July 26th. That is a week from Wednesday. It is my understanding. This is what I heard. It was a friend of a friend type of thing. You know, I can't catch all of Nashville's Morning News as much as I try, and I know you do too. But Mandus, it is my understanding, has agreed to give a big, robust Mandus hug to the first 100 people that show up. If you've not heard about the event, go to 997WTN.com. That's 997WTN.com to find out more information. It is July. I can tell you the basic information right now. It's July 26th. It's in Hendersonville. It's at J Street Korean Grill and Bar. I hear the food is dynamite. It is absolutely fabulous. And I know the fellowship will be as well. Brian Wilson will be there the entire afternoon, broadcasting his show. The rest of the crew will do a little bit of a Super Talk takeover at 6 o'clock. We'll have a great time from there until who knows when. I will be there. You will be there. Johnny B will be there. Dan Mandus will be there. Chris Hand, brand new Chris Hand will be there. Pamela Furr will be there. And Brian Wilson. Hail, hail. The gang is all there. Absent, a couple like Headless Bell never goes anywhere. That is July 26th. Tickets are available for purchase at 997WTN.com. Apparently, a presidential candidate was in town over the weekend. I was invited to this event, and I was unable to attend for reasons that I will explain to you presently. But Ron DeSantis was in town for the Statesman Dinner. I'm interested if there is any broad reaction to DeSantis's candidacy thus far, or any specific reaction for those of you who might have been in attendance at the Statesman's Dinner. It looked like everybody was there. I know Jack Johnson was there because Jack Johnson asked me if I wanted to sit at his table, which was very nice of him. And Senator Johnson will be on with us at 1:30 this afternoon, not just to talk about the Statesman Dinner and his reaction to it, but more importantly to talk about some of the activities going on in Williamson County, more specifically in Franklin. There are updates on this Campos deal out of Franklin that you need to know about. Apparently, a lot of people missed this guy a lot of times, and I think it begs a few answers as to why our local authorities do not turn over. Are they not allowed to turn over illegal aliens to Immigration and Customs Enforcement? Because apparently Campos, who was in our country illegally for at least 20 years, we are now told was in custody on multiple occasions for multiple infractions, and nobody did anything, at least in regard to getting him out of the country. That's my understanding on this story. We'll flesh that out for you over the course of the day. If you missed our conversation with Freddie O'Connell Friday, I believe it is up on our podcast page. Freddie O'Connell is a mayoral candidate. And I allowed Freddie his own positions, and I'm going to do that with these mayoral candidates. I'm not going to agree on everything with any of them, but I think you need to hear from them and hear where they are on this, particularly if you live in Davidson County and particularly if you plan on voting. But some of the more contentious moments during that almost hour together came when I asked Freddie O'Connell if he supports Adrian Battle in Adrian Battle's position that we don't need school resource officers in our elementary schools. And Freddie O'Connell said he did support that position. And I am still waiting on this Monday from our Friday interview for a justified reason as to why that is. He says, because kids are different, and they react differently to uniformed police officers and whatnot and what for. I didn't understand it at the time that he said it. I don't understand it now either. When did police officers become a negative within our communities? And if they are a negative within our communities, and I understand in some communities they are, then should we not be working to stop that, to change that perception and turn it into a positive, as opposed to agreeing with the people that think police are negative? Police are not. Those that would do harm to the average citizen are the complete outlier, not the rule. They're the exception that proves the rule. The vast majority of police officers are good people who are doing God's work, protecting and serving. However, several of our mayoral candidates don't believe that they should be in our schools. And apparently, now the police chief has weighed in, and we'll talk about what he had to say on the show today. Speaking of the mayor's race, I have a couple of ads to play you that I want to break down for you. One involving a candidate that currently sits on the Metro Council, Sharon Hurt, and the other, our good buddy Jim Gingrich, who continues to lie about the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Jim Gingrich is a liar, and I just want to put it real clear. So if you're a supporter of Jim Gingrich, why not call Jim and tell him that we're trying to get a hold of him? I wanted to hold off on this position to give him an opportunity to speak to this matter on our airwaves. But I can't get him back on the show. We've had him on once before. But Jim, if you happen to be listening, I know that sounded harsh when I called you a liar. I believe it's true. And you can prove me wrong simply by calling me up or texting me. Here are the phone numbers. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. Just give me a call or give me a text. Let me know when we can talk. Because I think you're too smart to say what you're saying in a political ad and know that it's not the truth. What is the definition of a lie? The simplest and easiest definition of a lie. A lie is saying something you know not to be true at the time that you say it. We can make mistakes and not consider them lies. A lie does not have to do with opinion-based matter. I loved the new Barbie movie, for example. I didn't, by the way. I haven't seen it. Although, I don't want to slam on Hand on his first day or anything. But I guess what Chris's point was, if you're listening to Chris Hand earlier, and I was, and he did a great job from 9 to noon, you're going to love this guy. He was frustrated with the Barbie movie because he felt like that, I don't even know who makes the movie, but the makers of the movie had an opportunity to draw that connection between adulthood and childhood. Instead, they decided to go a different route. This is more of an adult-themed Barbie movie. It's not for kids. And I guess his frustration was, yeah, but if your kids are playing with Barbie, they're going to want to go to see the Barbie movie. So I guess I'm not slamming on him because I get it. At the same time as I don't think they ever marketed to young people. That said, back to the original point. A lie is something that you know not to be true at the time that you say it. And I think Jim Gingrich knows that what he's saying is not true in his political ad. And I don't like liars. And I sure as heck don't like lying politicians. So I'll share that ad with you coming up. Have you heard about, speaking of movies, have you heard about the new movie that they're doing with Snow White? Like, I don't understand why Disney is trying to re-up. They're doing a new Snow White. It's a this is their big thing now. They're taking all their cartoons and they're making live action versions of the cartoons. And I can't wait for Bambi. Boom! Kill shot right at the beginning.
Rated R.
Love it. And then Bambi goes on a murderous revenge raid,
It's like the new Winnie the Pooh movie.
Yeah, they did with the Pooh film. And you know how they got away with that, by the way, dude?
It's in the public domain now.
Right, yeah. Somebody didn't re-up the copyright or whatever, so it's public domain. So
that's wild to me, too.
Now he's like slaughtering Piglet or what.
I saw the trailers, and I was like, that's my childhood, man. I can't do that.
You stick a bear in the woods, don't give him any pants. He's eventually going to go feral.
That's Cocaine Bear for you.
That is cocaine. But the new Snow White movie, I'm going to tell you all about it, but I don't understand why they're trying to make this movie again. Like, they can't do the movie. They have to change everything because there's a company that has become so PC woke. I mean, one, her name is Snow White, and she's Hispanic now. She was called the fairest of them all, and she's now Hispanic because we're just going to cross-cast it. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. I'm not going to die on that hill, but, her name was Snow White. She was saved by the prince. Well, we can't have that. We can't have her saved by the prince. But, I mean, that's, patriarchy coming in, swooping in, the savior scenario. We can't have any of that. So now they don't even call him the prince anymore. His name's Jonathan.
Mjolnir? Mjolnir.
Maybe not. No,
Sorry.
I don't think so.
That's a dumb Paul Rudd reference. He's in an interview and they're asking him, what's the name of Thor's hammer? And he says, Jonathan?
I didn't get it, but I get it now.
Sorry, that's a
vague reference lost on younger viewers. Anyway, which that's also a vague reference lost on younger viewers. And then finally, and of course the big one is it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, and you can't have dwarves. Apparently it's impermissible to have dwarves. I don't know why it's impermissible to have dwarves, but it's impermissible to have dwarves. It's not the name of the show or the book, whatever, is not Snow White and the Seven Midgets. I could understand if somebody would get upset about that, because apparently little people don't like being called that anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
It's like fictional dwarves that you would see in Lord of the Rings have dwarves. I was like, they're not the same thing, obviously, but it's probably on the same connotation of the fictional kind of.
It's the same kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
So. But they got to change it. And now it's Snow White and I'm not making this up, Snow White and the Seven Magical Creatures. And they're all different. And I guarantee, how much you want to bet they got a transgender one? I've not seen this. I don't know the answer to this.
Does that mean they're saying that transgendered people are magical creatures?
Maybe. I won't go so far as to say that they will have an outwardly or verbally transgender person, but I guarantee you they have at least one, maybe two of the dwarf no, they're not dwarves, magical creatures that are just androgynous, that you don't know really what they are.
Yeah.
They're non-binary.
I was hoping you were just going to say they changed their names. Like, you can't do Dopey. That's I don't know.
Well,
or
unless he smokes it.
Yeah. Or instead of Grumpy, it's slightly mild-tempered. Yeah, right. I don't know.
Instead of Sneezy, we call him COVID. They all lash him and quarantine him.
He's just called Corona.
You think we could name all seven? All right, hold on. All right.
Name all seven, original names?
Yeah, let's go back and forth.
Okay.
Doc.
Sleepy.
All right. Happy.
Grumpy.
Dopey.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, I got one. Bashful.
Yep. One more. What's the last one?
Happy, Sneezy, Dopey, Doc, Bashful.
Grumpy.
Do we have seven?
No, we got six. We're one short.
Grumpy, Dopey, Sleepy, Happy, Doc, Bashful. Right now on the super text line. I'll go to the super text line, and I'll know in just a moment. It's 12:22. Just getting started. DeSantis was in town. SROs in elementary schools. The mayoral race heating up. Mike Pence and Tucker Carlson. Maybe we'll get to that. But when we come back right after 12:30, there is a story out of Hoover, Alabama. If you've not heard the details of this story, it is odd to say the least. And we're going to go to Hoover and talk to somebody that's on top of that story. It's 12:23 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We are almost, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks away, the 17th to the 24th, 28th. We're just less than 3 weeks away to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. I'm very excited. Get your tickets, get your tickets, get your tickets. I will be there. I'll be in the hat. Find me. I want you to be there as well. The course is designed to challenge the drivers and excite the fans. It's a street circuit through downtown Nashville, across Korean Memorial Veterans Bridge, or I should say the Korean War Veterans Memorial Bridge in downtown Nashville. It is the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. If you've been, you already know, and you already have your tickets to go back. But if you've never been, you need to know. It's about music and food and fun and racing, and music and food and fun and racing, and not necessarily in that order. 3-day tickets are still on sale, premium hospitality available, and 1-day tickets are on sale right now. Grab your tickets before they're gone. This thing can sell out and probably will. It's the Music City, Big Machine, I should say, Music City Grand Prix happening August 4th through the 6th. MusicCityGP.com. Online for tickets. Get amped at MusicCityGP.com. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and you know what? Let's talk about your safety in your home. Let's talk about how you protect your home, and let's, in doing so, talk about Safe House. You know, Safe House still has some incredible deals going on this month at Nashville Safe House, including, you know, the sales tax holiday went away after 2 years, and we know that. But if you still need a safe, then you need a safe, and you still have some great deals because the Browning rebate deals are still going on at Nashville Safe House. Go talk to Mark. He's a great guy, and he has the best selection of safes. And I went ahead and said it. When we went out and I saw these 650-plus safes, to include their warehouse, they have about 650 safes in stock, ready for you, ready for delivery. And I thought, we don't have the best safe selection in Tennessee or in the Southeast. It's in the United States of America, and that means the world, and that means the universe. The best selection in the universe, and I'm not exaggerating, is on 4th Avenue South. Go see Mark and his team today. See his Employee of the Year, Joe Biden. He's standing in the lobby. That's true. You know, a lot of folks are a little nervous about the state of affairs and the state of our cities nowadays, and so they are arming themselves, and to do that, to do it responsibly, you need to get a safe from the Safe House. Gun safes, corporate safes, all types. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com or 4th Avenue South in Nashville. All right, I think we had them all. By the way, it's the Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're all over the joint on this Monday edition so far. A good friend and colleague, Valerie Vining, will join us at 12:35 this afternoon. She is down in Birmingham, Alabama at Talk 99.5. It's my former stomping ground. She was my former radio partner when I did mornings down there for years, and she is currently doing mornings with the Dixon and Vining show. She's also program director of Talk 99.5, and she's on top of this story out of Hoover, Alabama. I'm not going to share much of the details with you except to say you want to hear this story. It is wild, and a lot of it is yet to be told. It was about to break national. I think it hit a few national headlines. I certainly heard about it. A woman seemingly abducted. Let me give you a little preview. Woman calls 911, okay? She's driving home from work. Says, I see a baby on the side of the road. I'm going to stop to try to get this baby. This baby's like 3 years old. She then somehow gets disconnected with 911, is on the phone with a relative. The relative hears her approaching the baby, hears her ask the baby if the baby's okay. Toddler, 3 years old. And then all they hear her scream and they hear road noise. When the cops get there, her car's there, her purse is there, her cell phone's there, her wig is there, and her car's running. And she's nowhere to be found. More on this story coming up just after the bottom of the hour. But I think we had them all. I think we just kind of jumped around on them. So, Doc, bashful, happy, sleepy, sneezy, dopey, grumpy.
Yep, that's all of them.
And there you go.
Mission accomplished.
But if you call one of the magical creatures in the new Snow White movie, I'm surprised they're going to still call her. They're going to call her Snow White.
I guess so. I mean, it's just a last name. It may not be the connotation of who she is.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think we need, in this woke world, do we need things Snow White anymore?
Only my Christmas.
You know what we need to call her? Shady Gray. Shady Gray and the magical creatures. And you can't call him grumpy. Calling him grumpy, that man's got anger issues. Got to get him, he's got PTSD
therapy.
Or something.
He needs to see Doc a little more.
Yeah, he needs to go to Doc, see Doc. Happy don't need to see anybody because he's been to a dispensary.
Him and Dopey have had too much fun.
They're all good. They're best buds. Sneezy needs to go see Anthony Fauci.
Corona.
And Sleepy got a damn medical condition, too. Don't put him behind the wheel of a car.
Absolutely not.
So there you go. Our work version of Snow White. 1232, Super Talk. You will not believe this story I'm going to tell you next. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In this economy and with so many different choices and the different things that you buy on a regular basis, it's getting more and more important to more and more people that we spend our money with companies that believe similarly to the way that we do. Now, you can't be 100% right all of the time, but when it comes to big mobile companies and their woke agenda and how they spend a lot of the money that you spend with them on that woke agenda, there is something you can do. Patriot Mobile is that something that you can do. And I encourage you to do this. I challenge you to put your money where our mouths are, right? We talk about matters like free speech and the First Amendment of the Constitution quite a bit. We talk about religious freedom. We talk about the sanctity of life and our belief in our military, our veterans, and our first responders. Well, have you put your money where your mouth is? Well, Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They offer dependable nationwide coverage on all three major networks. You get the best possible service in your area without the woke politics. And oh, by the way, you don't have to give up your number and you don't have to give up your phone. Free activation with the offer code Murphy. No money out of your pocket with the offer code Murphy. That's free activation, friends, MURPHY. Go to patriotmobile.com/Murphy. I encourage you to do this. 878-PATRIOT. That's 878-PATRIOT. The same dependable service. Take a stand for your values with Patriot Mobile. In the middle of summer, it is outdoor painting season. I know it's really, really hot to many of you when you get outside, and it's hot to Nashville Painting Company as well. But Jeremy Reeves and Nashville Painting Company, they say it's never too hot to get a consultation done on your home and to get that paint job done on your home. Friends, I've been talking about Jeremy Reeves longer than I've been in Nashville because he used to be in Birmingham. He helped paint my house in Birmingham, and he can help paint your house in Nashville. Been here for about 10 years now. Go to NashvillePaintingCompany.com. That's NashvillePaintingCompany.com. I'll give you the number in just a moment. They do interior work, of course, exterior work, exact scopes and pricing. You never are surprised with Nashville Painting Company. They are not the most expensive around. They are simply the best around with the best warranties in the business. Of course, licensed, bonded, and insured. NashvillePaintingCompany.com, or here's the number promised, 615-635-0350. 635-0350. Call my friend Jeremy Reeves in Nashville Painting Company. All right, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll talk presidential politics coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. A reminder, do not pick your candidate until 2024. Hold on to that precious vote. It is like treasure, and you should not release it prematurely. Ron DeSantis was in town over the weekend. I was unable to attend the event. I was invited to the event and hated I would not be able to be there. I'll tell you why in just a couple of minutes. The Statesman Dinner with Ron DeSantis in Nashville, Tennessee. There was big goings on in West Palm Beach as well with Donald Trump and some of the other political candidates. I think some of them spoke to Tucker Carlson over the weekend. We'll speak to that as well in just a couple of minutes. And we'll give you an update on the Nashville mayor's race. That's all to come. But this story, you will not hear an odder story than the one you're about to hear from our next guest. And maybe I'm paying a little more attention to it because I lived in the Birmingham area for 20 plus years. But this story did make national headlines and I believe would have been the lead story today, if not for developments over the weekend. But without revealing any of that, let's welcome in my good friend. I mentioned her, Valerie Vining. She is program director of Talk 99.5 in Birmingham, Alabama. She is a former co-host of mine when I was down in Birmingham. And more importantly, she is my friend. Hey, Valerie, how are you?
Matt Murphy, how are you, my love?
Wonderful. Thank you for talking with me.
Absolutely. Yeah. This story is absolutely incredible. And you're right. I mean, I thought about you in Nashville, and I thought about that stretch of roadway where this woman apparently got abducted. And I said, Matt's been up and down that interstate 1,000 times
Yep.
or more.
Yeah.
And so you know exactly where this is.
It is. It's just a weird story that started weird and got weirder. So just kind of start us from the beginning. Where did all of this begin?
Yeah, so Thursday night, this 25-year-old woman who works up at the Summit, that's a shopping center in Birmingham, she leaves there at about 8:20. She goes to a place called Taziki's and picks up dinner for herself and a family member, leaves Taziki's and is headed down 459 southbound toward the Hoover area. And apparently she reports to 911 that she has seen a toddler on the side of the road. And then she proceeds to contact a family member who is her brother's girlfriend and reports the same thing, all in a matter of a very short period of time. She then pulls her car off onto the shoulder of the road about 1 mile before the 150 exit. And you can see on some footage, she exits the car, goes around the back of it, over to the passenger side, and that's about all you see. She claims that there was a child. She was checking on the child. She asked the child, was the child okay? You didn't hear a response on the phone while that line was still open with her brother's girlfriend. And then she hears a scream, and then the only thing that she hears after that is traffic from the interstate. Well, Hoover police, they're there in minutes. I mean, I think we're looking at about 3 minutes or less. They pull up on the car, it's still running, and all of her belongings are inside of it, and she is nowhere to be found. So she's missing, and they bring out hundreds of law enforcement, helicopters in the sky. They've got dogs looking for her all night. The next morning, no sign of her anywhere. So she's gone for 48 hours. Saturday night, she shows back up at her parents' house, not far from the Hoover Met, where a lot of the SEC baseball tournaments, et cetera, are held.
Right.
And so they contact police, and they evaluate her, decide to take her to the hospital and get her checked out. She checks out of the hospital, and now she's apparently back home with her family. But we don't know what happened to her over those 48 hours. It's the weirdest thing.
So, and I know I'm going to cover the same ground you just covered. So she claims that she saw a child on the side of the road.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Has there been any word from any authority figure about whether or not there was actually a child or not?
We have gotten zero confirmation. We also do not know if there were other 911 calls about that child, but we've not heard a single person nor a single report of anybody else seeing what was the child. And here's the weird part to me, Matt. This is the part that really got me. There's algo traffic cams that are on the interstate,
right,
and they have footage of this car with the hazards on in the far right lane. Then the car gets in the shoulder and travels another probably 400 yards or more. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if you turn the hazard lights on because you saw a child, wouldn't you immediately stop? Why are you traveling another 400 yards beyond where the child would have been that you claim that you saw? That's the weird part.
Right.
To me.
And if I'm traveling down any interstate, I mean, and for those in Nashville, 449 is a cut through. It's very similar to 840 in Nashville or 440 in Nashville. It's a work around the city. So if you see a kid, you're going probably at least 60 miles an hour. You would have to stop and then back up, I would think.
Yes, that is exactly right. And I would think on that stretch of roadway on I-459, you're probably doing 70, probably some cars 75.
Right.
It is pitch dark. You can't see anything from the Galleria to 150 on 459. So, A, it's hard for me to believe that she saw something like that. And B, why did you keep traveling way past the child? You didn't park the car and run backwards toward the child. You just exited your car and went around to the passenger side, and that's odd.
Okay, so here's a completely and totally unrelated question, Valerie, about radio. You ready? Are you enjoying the super text line down in Birmingham? I know you guys have one too, right?
Oh yeah,
I love the super text. I love the super text line because it gives people an ability to interact without having to wait on the phone and call up and do all that. On our super text line right now, well, that's what we call it, the super text line. It is blowing up with people suggesting that this was textbook midget alien abduction.
Oh, it could very well be, Matt. It is the most bizarre story. But let me tell you something. Let me share one other thing with this story. $63,000 was raised in her search, and it's all being returned to donors. There were people everywhere, and I'm telling you, this community really deserves answers. The family has asked for privacy right now, but just trust that the Hoover Police Department is trying to investigate this and get all the details, and they will. And this community wants to know, where was she during those 48 hours?
All right, so and I guess we should note and make sure that people understand. So she turns back up at her parents' house. And then
where she lives.
And
yes.
Okay, she lives there. And then they called the authorities, correct?
Yeah, they called the authorities.
And then they transported her to a hospital, I think, right?
Mm-hmm, to have her checked out. Now, and all this time, we don't even know that she's got a boyfriend. The boyfriend says this, that she fought for her life for 48 hours. Well, what does that mean? Let's interview him and find out what he knows. Was she really kidnapped, or was she not really kidnapped? Was this a hoax? We don't have those answers yet, but they are still investigating this, and Hoover Police say they'll get to the bottom of it.
I think we'll get the answers. I mean, it is almost impossible to be anywhere in a public thoroughfare like that and not have cameras somewhere. And I know that you said we do have a little camera footage on this, but the cameras that have been examined do not show a baby, right?
We have not seen a picture of a baby. We've not heard any other reports of people seeing babies on the interstate. Nothing.
The one thing that I thought of this morning in anticipation of our conversation, and you tell me if I'm right, because you're right there in the middle of it. And this is in Hoover, and Hoover's a suburb of Birmingham, very similar to Franklin, guys, or Mount Juliet. And the police don't seem concerned that there are people kidnapping people on the side of the road right now, do they? Or am I reading that right?
Well, I don't hear them saying anything that they are looking for those that kidnapped this woman.
Right.
They've not said that they're looking for kidnappers. They haven't said that they're looking for this child. There was even a report from an 18-wheeler driver that said that they saw a silver car near her vehicle, but that's not on that video. There's no video of any car anywhere near her vehicle stopping. So there's all these questions. Where's the silver car? Where's the baby? Where's the abductor? Do we have a description of them? We don't have any of that. We've got none of it.
And when she returned home, she just showed up on foot, right?
She showed up on foot. No one knows how she got there. Did somebody drop her off down the street and she walked up to the front door? We don't have answers to that. Were there ring cameras that maybe picked it up that we don't have that information? Possibly. But, yeah, the word is that she walked up on foot and knocked on the door.
Well, and my natural inclination, Valerie, you and I have known each other for over 20 years, right? So you know what a curmudgeon I am. And my natural inclination is to say hoax. But here are a few questions. If we went down that road, she leaves work. They know she went to Tzatziki's. They know what she bought at Tzatziki's. You mentioned that she bought a family member food, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So you would think you'd have that timeline, and you would have the food or receipt in the vehicle once the police arrived on scene. Don't have that information either.
So, I mean, it seems like her movements were completely normal until such time as she pulled over. So, if I'm working on the hoax theory, I mean, well, then what are we doing for 2 days? And what did you think? I mean, I can't understand what someone would be thinking if they were trying to hoax other people, in as much as you're going to get caught. I mean, you're
going to get caught. Yeah. Is this a matter of, hey, I want some internet fame? We don't know the answer to that. Was this a mental breakdown of sorts? We don't know the answer to that. Here's one other piece of information. The family got a call that she was possibly at the Red Roof Inn in Vestavia. And apparently the family went there and did not find her there. And it was a little bit later on that evening that she ended up back at the house. So we don't know whether she was at the Red Roof Inn or not and what that was all about. So, again, there's so many questions in this case, and so many people really want to know and get to the bottom of this really bizarre case. Well,
I mean, obviously, first and foremost, you're happy that the woman is okay, right?
Absolutely.
You don't want anybody, and we'll work off the premise that there was not a toddler, right? I mean, because one would think that other people would have seen the toddler. Well, but from there you start getting a little annoyed because she took a lot of police officers' time and energy. I mean, there was a lot of money expended. I mean, do you think, Valerie, just on your assessment, that if it turns out, and it's a big if, we don't know, but if it turns out that this is a hoax, this woman has to be charged with something, doesn't she?
Well, I think at the very minimum, maybe making a false report to 911 about this baby and the abduction. She should be charged with that. And, yeah, you think about the time, the money, the resources. They said there were over 70 police officers, and then on top of that, Jefferson County Sheriff's deputies, the dogs. There was a helicopter in the sky. All of that. The community members were meeting at the Hoover Met, taking up donations. I heard one person spent $350 on Gatorade and snacks to take care of all these people that were apparently searching for her. So you take all that into consideration, and, yeah, there's a frustration there, and you're thinking to yourself, she probably should be charged with something if this is a hoax.
An incredibly compelling story down there. Can I call you back when you got an update, Valerie? I need to talk to you again about this story.
Absolutely.
It just gives me,
I'd love to talk to you.
It gives me a great excuse to talk to you because I miss you.
Miss you too, and you're doing great up there in Nashville. We miss you.
We'll see you soon, Valerie. There's Valerie Vine. Thank you so much, Valerie. This is Valerie Vine getting us an update on this very, very odd story involving a woman and a fictional tot. I'm getting blown up. One person's takeaway from all of this story. I'm getting a lot of alien abduction, which, I can see that. I'm getting a good deal of mental illness, which I can certainly see that. I'm wondering if this was not, this is my speculation. The boyfriend was the target of what she did. This is my WAG, my WAG. That stands for wild, you-know-what guess. Boyfriend and woman a little bit on the splits. She thinks the boyfriend's maybe veering off the reservation a little bit, thinks maybe the relationship's going sour, and this is her way to jealous the boyfriend up. What do you think?
Some mental illness?
Well, sure. I mean, if that would constitute mental illness if she thought that would work.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, that's my suggestion. But one of our alert super texters, 5774, the only thing they're worried about is they say that I'm not using the correct terminology when referring to the child. You said child, now it's a baby. It's a toddler now. Which is it? Keep your wording correct. Well, what do you want?
It's about 3 years old was what was dictated.
Okay, so I guess that's not a baby. I guess that's not a baby. That's a toddler.
Yeah.
Okay, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
My bad on the baby. Mea culpa on the baby.
It's a child overall. So, I think that's the main takeaway.
Forgive my ignorance, but if they do not have the ability to tell you that they have to go to the bathroom and go number 2, they're all babies to me.
Fair enough.
Is that fair? It is 12:52, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I know from personal experience what mild hearing loss is like because, well, I've had some mild hearing loss. But I know from even more intimate experience because have had people in my life that have had significant hearing loss. I want to tell you about my friends at Brentwood Hearing Center. As some of you know, Brentwood Hearing Center is committed to offering the most recent hearing technology available, and one of the most recent additions to their product line is the Phonak. The Phonak. What is the Phonak? Paradise Life hearing aid. It is the world's first completely waterproof hearing aid. This is a game changer, friends. If you have hearing loss, you're splashing around in the pool with your kids and your grandkids, you're working in the yard and you can't hear what's going on because you have to take your hearing aid out for fear that it will get wet no longer. The Paradise Life can make you hear well, but you also don't have to worry about your hearing aid getting wet and damaging the aid. Give them a call today at 615-377-0420. 377-0420. Schedule an appointment and learn more about Paradise Life. One of their doctors of audiology would love to speak with you and demonstrate the new product. Brentwood Hearing Center. It's better hearing for a better life. Call today.
Hey folks, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the biggest decisions people have to make in retirement is how to take Social Security. You'll get all kinds of workshops about that, and you'll see all kinds of things about that particular topic. Because Social Security, for some people, it might be a third or even more of their income in retirement. So you want to get this decision right. Well, how do you make the decision? Well, one of the things we look at, there are programs we use. This is one of the simpler programs that we use right here. And I want to just show you how it works and how it actually unravels some of the misconceptions we have about Social Security. So we have two people here, they're age 60, and they're looking at filing for Social Security. One person has a retirement benefit of $2,500. That is their main benefit from Social Security at their full retirement age. The other one has a $500 benefit. And what we can do here, which is kind of cool, is look at this and say, okay, well, what if we have this person has that life expectancy and that person has that life expectancy there? And then what we do is we assume a certain cost of living increase in Social Security. What would be the optimal for taking the benefit where they get the most benefit or the most bang from their buck? And where we see the star, that shows that we would have the best benefit. Now, this is one person filing at age 67, the other person at age 70. Well, a lot of people think, well, I retire, I have to take Social Security at the same time that I retire, and that's not necessarily the case. As you can see here, one may take it at one age and one may take it at another, even though they're the same age right now. Now, the other thing we can do is say, well, what if I took it early? What if I took it at this particular age right here, where one person's 65 and the other one's 65? You can actually see how much it could cost in benefits. When we do this, we can see how much it might cost us and how much it might affect us negatively to do that. Now, the other thing we can do is we can play around the life expectancies, and we say, well, if this person lives to that age, now the cost is $187,000 in this particular example, taking it at that age right there. So you can see, based on your own life expectancy, and typically people will say, well, what did my parents live to, and come up with that type of data. So this is just part of the financial planning process that we use at Paul Winkler Inc. If you want to know more about what we do, you can get a free 15-minute phone call at our website, paulwinkler.com. We do financial planning, full financial planning. We do investing, education, and investing. We actually help people through those decisions, helping them set up their 401ks and those types of decisions, as well as risk management. But we don't get paid on commission. That's what makes us so different from other firms out there that do what we do. So if you want to find out more, go to paulwinkler.com.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. About a minute before we have to make way for the news at the top of the hour. We've got 2 more hours after that. I've enjoyed our time together so far. Hope you have as well. In a moment, I will answer the very important question regarding a phrase that I used in the first hour of the show. Kathy has written in, and she is concerned. She says, I've never understood the expression, it's the exception that proves the rule. I'm here for you. I'll explain in a moment.
Enough for you? That's an understatement in many parts of the country today, with excessive heat warnings or advisories in over a dozen states. ABC's chief meteorologist, Ginger Z.
Phoenix did not drop below 90 again, 8th day in a row. That's something they've not done in the time they've kept records. So they'll go for another day at above 110, too. And by tomorrow, we'll be talking about high temperature records. Texas has been broiling for 6 weeks or so. And then Miami, 36 consecutive days of a heat index of 100 plus. That is a stretch they've not done before.
There's more rain in the forecast this week for parts of the Northeast, inundated by flash flooding and storms over the weekend. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy.
We've got our Department of Transportation, which is already in here cleaning up debris. We got roads out, bridges out that are going to take a lot of effort and time.
At least 5 people are dead and 2 are missing in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. The Kremlin's blaming Ukraine, the U.S., and the U.K. for a deadly attack on a key bridge in Crimea, saying that Kyiv used American and British intelligence to craft its underwater drone attack. A major shakeup in a Republican presidential campaign. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis cutting about a dozen staff positions, with more likely to go.
It's a sign that they need to cut costs despite fundraising $20 million in Q2. The campaign says it is laser focused on early primary states, particularly Iowa. They're trying to roll out a strong ground game in Iowa, but you need money to get that done. And if fundraising is an open question for the campaign, that is obviously a concern, as we still have a long ways to go until those Iowa caucuses.
ABC's Jay O'Brien in Washington. Iran's morality police again patrolling the streets of the nation. A spokesman says officers will take legal action against those who break the nation's dressing norms. You're listening to ABC News.
It is hot outside. It should be. It's the middle of summertime. But with the heat comes the AC running quite a bit. If your AC is not running as efficiently as it should, then I have you a person to call Efficient Heating and Cooling, and Jeff Eddy, my man. He's the man that I would recommend come into your home. I trust him in mine, and he will get it done. He or one of his certified technicians. They are great. They're not the biggest AC company in the world. They're just the best, and you don't have to be the biggest to be the best. As a matter of fact, sometimes there's so many advantages to going with a smaller company with such technical expertise, like efficient heating and cooling, like no overtime rates. He'll never charge you overtime. He wants to know you personally. He wants you to recommend him personally. Therefore, he's going to do you right the first time. And if the big boys have quoted you that you need another unit, get a second opinion before you do it. Let me say it again. Get a second opinion before you do it, because maybe we can get another year or two of life out of that AC. Go to efficienthvac.net, efficienthvac.net, or 615-784-4424, a Diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and Elite Pro partner with Rheem. It's efficient heating and cooling. Here we go. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And here we go with hour number 2. Thank you for being with us. You know how much I appreciate you. I love what we do on a day-to-day basis from noon until 3. I hope you do as well. It's a complete lineup with Dan Mandis and Nashville's Morning News. The brand new Chris Hand was in this morning from 9 until noon. A little sleep-deprived, but he got here nonetheless. I mean, the man had to get an Uber from Atlanta to Nashville in order to get here to his show on time. How about that for dedication, at least on your first day? And then after us, it's The Drive with Brian Wilson. Brian in from 3 until 7 this afternoon. Speaking of The Drive, I invite you to a couple of things. But first and foremost, I invite you to be a part of my event coming up this Friday at McGill's world-famous Glock store. If you've never been to the Glock store, thinking about going, maybe you've been and you want to return, maybe you just want to come out and see me, I will be there, but not in my normal noon to 3 time slot. I will be there in the afternoon hours. I'm taking care of Brian's slot Friday afternoon, and therefore I'll be out at the Glock store between 3 and 7. So you're invited to be a part of the show. Just come on out and see us from 3 until 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You're also invited to go on our website and get yourself a ticket to the July 26th proceedings. That's in Hendersonville. You know, we do one of these, I don't know, as often as we can. I'd do one every couple of weeks if I could. I'd get out even more than I already do because I love seeing you guys. But we're doing this at J Street Korean Grill and Bar, July 26th. I think the formal proceeding started about 6 o'clock in the evening. Brian will be there before then doing his radio show. The entire gang will take over, and there's just a cavalcade of stars to see and be seen. So there's Johnny B, first and foremost. I'm just listing these in order of importance, of course. Not really. Johnny B's there, Brian Wilson's there, Matt Murphy's there, Pamela Furr's there, Dan Mandis is there, and the brand new Chris Hand as well will be making an appearance. So come on out and say hello to Chris. He is now part of the extended Super Talk 99.7 family, and you are as well. We'd love to see you at that event. So tickets, once again, available at 997WTN.com. I had not intended on doing this, but Kathy happened upon one of my favorite things to do in life, and that is I love research. I mean, I'm a dork that way, and I love finding out new things. And so oftentimes, and anybody that's been around me will tell you, that if I experience something in real time, like Mason, if you and I went out to, what's the first thing that comes to mind? If we go down to the Ryman Auditorium, well, which I've already done this, by the way, but we go down to the Ryman Auditorium, we take a tour of the Ryman Auditorium.
Great tour.
I promise you, I am on my phone. I'm Googling the Ryman Auditorium. I'm finding websites with the history of the Ryman Auditorium. I'm finding these offshoot stories about it. Or if we're visiting a Civil War, thing. Or another good example is I was driving my motorcycle some time ago, and I was going to Kentucky. And I passed by the Octagon Hall.
Oh, yeah.
In Kentucky. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And so that thing has like a couple of different lives to it. It was a place built by – Kentucky was officially not a part of the Civil War, but they sympathized with the South. And so this guy harbored Civil War fugitives and had hidey holes and tunnels and all kind of stuff, which is really, really cool because they can tell you about all of that history. But then it is reportedly haunted. And so there's a lot of paranormal activity that goes on out there. They've got ghost hunters. They've done like 100 shows out there. You can find, I think it's 31 North. You go past like White House, Gallatin, and the like, and get into Kentucky toward Bowling Green, and you'll see it. It's right there on the right. And I did a really deep dive into that. Bottom line is I love this kind of stuff. So Kathy writes in. And as we were talking last hour, I used a phrase. She says, Matt, I've never understood the expression, the exception that proves the rule. I get that there are exceptions to every rule, but how can those exceptions prove the rule? Oh, no, Kathy. I think you've made a couple of incorrect, or at least one incorrect assumption in your statement there. There are rules that have no exceptions, and that's the point. So the phrase goes back, as I remember it, and I looked this up during the break. It goes back to the Latin. And I won't bore you with the Latin, although I took Latin in college, because no oral examinations. That was my reasoning. I didn't want to have to speak a language, so there you go. It's the exception that proves the rule is actually a missaying. It should be the exception proves the rule. And I have a good way of you remembering it or understanding it. So let's say that you go to park your car and there is a parking sign that says parking is prohibited on this street 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sundays accepted. Now, what does that mean? That means you cannot park your car on the street from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. except on Sundays where it's allowed. The exception indicates that there is no other exclusion from the prohibition. So the exception demonstrates the rule or reinforces the rule as stated. Does that make sense to everybody? Probably not. Some of you live in Aniana. I can never get through to you. But the stating the exceptions demonstrates the rule in and of itself. It's a legal maxim that indicates that the fact that certain exceptions are made in a legal document confirms that the rule is valid in all other cases that you bring up. So unless you're bringing up a case in which the exception is an indicator, then the case that you're bringing up is not valid in the rule. But it is also a psychological concept that you can have a rule without an exception, but you can't have an exception without a rule. I'm now confusing myself. I'll say it again. You can have a rule without exceptions. Example. Do not read to me on the radio. That's one of my rules. I have very few rules. Rule number 1, call only once per day. Rule number 2, don't bore me. Rule number 3, don't read to me. And if you don't understand why you can't read to me, refer to rule number 2. Because it's boring on the radio. So you can have a rule without an exception, but if you have an exception, then you're demonstrating that there is a rule in place that you're accepting. And I think I've overtalked that already. All right, back to this story out of Franklin, because there's been a couple of updates that I want to share with you. We're going to talk at a greater length with Senator Jack Johnson about this story. But there have been some frightening updates on the story that I want you to know about. And, well, it just boggles the mind how certain individuals can run under the radar screen. So according to the latest information involving this Campos, and I've not bothered, his last name's Campos. I don't care. I hope he lives under a jail for the rest of his life, or, I don't care if the guy dies tomorrow. I mean, I don't. If he is actually guilty of those things that he has been accused of, I could not care less. Could not care less about this guy. So, but his last name's Campos. He is an illegal alien. He has been accused of drugging and raping multiple young men and boys. Well, apparently, according to the latest, he has had an arrest record that dates back nearly 20 years in the state of Tennessee. Breitbart News is reporting that the 63-year-old soccer coach, Camilo Campos of Mexico, who was arrested and charged in Williamson County. This story says Franklin County. This shows you how deeply they go. In Franklin, Tennessee, last week for allegedly drugging and sexually abusing multiple young boys from age 9 to 17. Campos allegedly filmed the assaults on his cell phone. Obviously, we know how he was caught now, and we now know that he tried to go back and retrieve that phone, and instead of giving him the phone, the individuals at the restaurant called authorities immediately. According to police, Campos had a decades-long arrest record, has been living illegally in Williamson County for 20 years, and in 2005, he was arrested for public intoxication. In 2006, 2015, and 2016, Campos was arrested for driving without a license. In 2014, Campos was allowed to register as a soccer referee with the U.S. Soccer Federation, which requires a background check. Which begs the question, how did Campos pass a background check without so much as a valid state-issued driver's license, which he ought not to be able to get in Tennessee? At least that's my understanding. If you guys know better or different, y'all let me know. I'm the new guy here. So, you know the backstory. I'll fill it in if you're just joining us. Maybe you've been out of pocket or on vacation. Campos was arrested June 22nd. He left his cell phone at a Marco's Pizza. Employees tried to get into the phone to figure out whose it was so they could get it back to the owner, and they found videos and photos, which in and of itself is just, I think it adds a component to this story that he was so accustomed to doing this. I mean, the level of evil and disgust is just astronomical. He was so comfortable that they were able to get into his phone and see this stuff. So, of course, they called the police. 3 of the 10 victims in the recorded encounters were identified by police. Since then, 5 others have come forward to accuse Campos of drugging and raping them as well. The abuse dates back for many, many years. The question, and we will ask said question of Senator Jack Johnson. Now, Jack is not responsible for this, but obviously he is a representative of that area. How in the world did this fall between the cracks? According to police, he was arrested in 2006, 2015, 2016, all 3 times for driving without a license. So if he didn't have a license in 2015 and 2016, how did he get certified with the U.S. Soccer Federation to become a referee/coach? And why are we not deporting individuals that are found to be in the United States of America illegally? Is it that the federal government refuses to do it? Now, I could understand that because the 3 times that he was arrested by the police in 2016, 2015, and 2016, 2015, that's during the Obama administration. They're not going to do anything about deportations. They just don't. I mean, sad as it is to say, Democrats do not care if illegal aliens rape your children. Tell me I'm wrong. How am I wrong? Not by their words, of course. If I had a Democrat on this radio show, they'd go, no, Matt, we don't want anyone. But I judge you by your actions, ma'am or sir, not by your words. By your actions, you refuse to do anything about the southern border. And by definition, allowing anyone and everyone to come across the southern border will necessarily bring bad people. Donald Trump was right in 2015 when he said an open southern border brings their worst. It brings the drug dealers. It brings the human smugglers. It brings the fentanyl. And yes, it brings the rapists. Obviously, there are people that are just trying to get a better life coming across too. And obviously, those are the majority. But that doesn't mean that the bad guys aren't going to come and do bad guy things. And Democrats don't seem to care because they refuse to do anything about it. It's disturbing that in a state like Tennessee, where I assume that the vast majority of us care about these types of things, that you would see an individual here illegally for 20 years, multiple arrests, intoxication in 05, no license in 06, 2015, 2016, and we didn't do anything about it. So while Democrats and leftists, and they're different, as they sit around and explain to us that these individuals that come into the United States of America are doing so just to find a better life, and they're good people, and we have a humanitarian crisis that we need to be a part of solving, I would suggest to you that you ask those people, do you care that children are being raped because of the lack of formal enforcement of our immigration policy in the United States of America? And are you willing to get on a team with me and others that decide we're going to do something about it? This is bad. 615-737-9986. That's a telephone number. You can use it right now, open phone lines, or on the super text line, 615-737-9986. Hey friends, Matt Murphy for Craft Body Scan. I've been talking about Craft for a while. I'm so excited because I had a Craft Body Scan myself, had a full body scan. Let me tell you my experience. So I went into Craft Body Scan. They're new to Nashville. This technology is fairly new as well. It's CT scan technology, and they're making such advancements on this technology. They can find things before your body tells you something is wrong. I'll say that again. They can find things before your body becomes symptomatic and tells you that's something wrong. What about that level of peace of mind? I mean, ideally, you go through a CT body scan, let's say a heart and lung scan, which they have on special right now. They find nothing. They give you the A-OK. They give you your diagnostic paperwork, and you walk away with the knowledge that you've got nothing going on inside of your body. That's a level of comfort that I love, especially considering I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac. So right now, Craft Body Scan is offering a $149 couples heart and lung scan. You can book online or via the telephone, and I've got both contacts for you. You'll go in, you'll sit down with a health consultant. They'll talk, learn a little more about you, fill out a little paperwork, and then the scan only takes 5 to 8 minutes. It's incredible. Images are reviewed by board-certified radiologists right there on site, and then they get you the results in a couple of days. 615-436-1000 is the number to schedule your heart and lung scan today, and bring a partner because that's a couples scan. Or craftbodyscan.com. Spell craft with a C, craftbodyscan.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Senator Jack Johnson coming up at 1:35. We'll talk about the prospects of a special session and the goings-on in Franklin/Williamson County. A lot of response on the latest on this story. It is the epitome of evil. Matt, there was a story today of a young man, last name of Campos, that was held at gunpoint by a grandfather of a 13-year-old girl who he had raped, as this young man related to the soccer coach. I've seen that story. I've seen that last name, and I've not seen any connection, and it would be a shock if there was any connection there, but I've not seen any connection. How did none of the victims ever come forward before now? Which is a valid question. He drugged them. They were unconscious. Many of them, I think it's easy for us to say, didn't they know that something had happened? We don't know. I'm going to try to be delicate here. We don't know the specifics of what he is accused of doing to these young people. So in some cases, they were likely unaware that anything had happened to them, or they just didn't know. In other cases, it's my understanding that some of these youngsters might have been Hispanic themselves, which, and this is my speculation totally, leads me to believe that perhaps their parents or relatives could have been in the country illegally as well. So even if they thought something had gone wrong or something had happened, they're not going to do any reporting for fear of having to deal with immigration and customs enforcement. That's the best I got. There's a lot more of you on the super text line. Who was his employer and how did he keep bypassing the system? Great question. I don't know what this means. Is the cat in the box dead or alive? I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means?
Schrodinger's cat. The philosophical... I'll have to look up the exact phrasing on everything, but it's basically...
Oh, is this what I was going through the logic? And I was going through the exception proves the rule thing?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Is the cat in the box dead or alive? What? Do I know this? What is it, a theorem or something or another?
Yeah, let me pull up the exact thing for it real quick.
Oh, I can't wait, Mason. And then Kathy writes in, and this is what we were discussing. I'm not sure your explanation applies to the situation you used it in, occasional bad cops. Well, no, it most certainly does. As a rule, cops, I would suggest to you, as a rule, cops follow the law. They do what they're supposed to do. They don't violate your civil or constitutional rights. They protect and they serve. As a rule, cops do that. But there are exceptions. And those exceptions demonstrate that the vast majority, we hear about every exception that comes up. Every time there's a bad cop, there's a story on it. So I would suggest, considering the millions and millions of cops that are out there, it is therefore the exceptions that prove the rule. And that rule is that most cops are good, honorable people that are trying to do their jobs to the best of their ability, not violate your rights to get home to their loved ones. That's what I'm saying. You got it?
I got it for you. In simple terms here, stated, it's if you put a cat in a box with something inside that could kill it, like a poison or something like that could be released at some point if it broke, and you seal it, you don't know if the cat is dead or alive until you open the box. So it's at the same time the cat could both be alive and dead at the same time. You don't know until you open the box. That's the base of the theory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you don't really know anything until you dig into it. I don't know. It's a very...
This has been a titillating Mason Minute on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Oh, no, sorry. Don't do the look on your face.
I was like, oh, no. New segments posted.
Why are you putting a cat in a box with poison, Mason?
It's not me.
What do you mean it's not you? You brought it up.
You read it off the super text line. Don't
Look,
give me
if
that.
anybody any of you cat people out there, it's not me. I love cats. You just can't overcook them. That's a joke. That is a joke that I've been telling for 20 years, and for 20 years it's been getting me in trouble. That's a joke. Brian is
still here.
Brian is next up in Greenbrier. Hey, Brian, how are you?
I can't talk. Y'all are killing me. It's the best.
Thank you, man.
So before a few years ago, man, in this silly place we live in, Middle Tennessee, the Davidson County Sheriff's Department was put under some mandate, and I want to call it 278B or 218B or some bullcrap from our federal government that said you can't find an illegal out there in a traffic stop, you can't arrest them. So you'll have to do some research on that. Can I make one more comment?
Yeah.
If daddies, what they're supposed to do, fathers, daddies, sperm donors, whoever, would protect our children, we would not have this big of epidemic, I don't think. I know people get in the cracks. There are exceptional family definitions now, and not everybody has the same mom and daddy and all that like a lot of us grew up with, thank God. But there's a lot of weak daddies out there. I have some friends like that. I have some acquaintances. I know people that wouldn't fight. They would not fight if you slapped them 3 times. And so where are these children for hours at a time and not accounted for at this Mr. Campos or whatever? He had time to do it. And why wasn't anybody saying, hey, where's Jose or where's Jimmy or where's Sally, or why are they not keeping up? I heard a weather lady, a local weather lady said this on TV a week or two ago when they talked about leaving children in the car and getting hot and burning up and dying. She said, put your phone or something in your back seat. And then I thought to myself, my God,
Yeah.
we have lowered our standards so much and put a phone ahead of our children that it's more important when it's just a lot going through my head right now.
You know, I mean, I hesitate, and I don't know. I mean, I agree with you that, and Brian, I'll let you continue to listen as we've got to go to a bottom of the hour break. But I agree with you that, and my kids are perfect. My kids never talk back. My kids get straight A's. They do everything that I tell them to the first time, and they never sass me. Mainly, they do these things because they do not exist. That said, we've got way too many buddies and not enough fathers. My grandfather made real clear to me when I was a kid that he was not interested in being my buddy. He was interested in being my father, and he was. And I love him and respect him for it. And you know what? He became my buddy, my best friend. Probably always will be. 133 on Super Talk. Gentlemen, if you are feeling sluggish, run down, not yourself. It might not just be that you're getting older. I mean, I know a lot of guys do it that way. Well, Murphy, I'm getting older. What do you expect? Well, I expect that you're going to do everything in your power to keep up that energy level, to keep up that vim, that vitality that you've enjoyed all your life. Maybe you don't go to the gym as often as you used to or want to. Maybe you've noticed a lack of interest in bedroom activities. If that's the case, Tennessee Men's Clinic wants to talk to you. There are numbers that you need to check. There are things that you need to check in your body. Naturally, some of these things go down over time and over age. You can correct those things, and you can get back to life through Tennessee Men's Clinic with a simple telephone call and a schedule of an appointment. For less than $100, you go through a complete examination. I mean, what is your health worth to you, right? Complete examination, do some blood work, and they'll check everything out. And they might give you the thumbs up and say, you know what, maybe you need some more sleep, or maybe you need some better sleep. Or if you've got an issue, they can correct it right then and right there and offer you an avenue of success. TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. 2 locations to serve you. One in Nashville, the other's in Cool Springs in Franklin. 615-208-9090. 208-9090. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and you. We'll get to your calls and comments via the Super Text line coming up in just a few moments. I'll go up to Washington, D.C., share with you what is going on up there regarding the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. Hey, SEC Media Days is in town for those college football fans in the listening audience. Kind of the Mason, you're a college football fan, yeah? No.
It's not my go-to. I'm more NFL leaning.
I
grew up on.
I assumed incorrectly. Hey, how about that DeAndre Hopkins thing?
I'm excited for that.
So you're a Tennessee guy?
I am a Tennessee guy.
I got to tell you guys real quick, and we'll get to Jack. Jack Johnson's on the line. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but
can't keep.
I'm excited because of my excitement.
Yeah.
Here's what I mean. So when I came to Tennessee, I will always be an Atlanta Braves fan. And man, the Braves are awesome. I will always be a Georgia Bulldog fan, and they're pretty good too. I was ready. I've never been a hockey fan, so I said, I'm ready. Come on, Preds, let's go.
Bring it on.
Ready. And as far as my NFL affiliation, I said I will immediately denounce my Falcon fandom because I grew up in Georgia, right?
Yeah.
And the Falcons, it's just a bevy of, it's just an annual disappointment.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm ready. I'm ready to be attacked. But you can't force that. You can't make that happen. But so I've been here a year and a half now, and when I heard about DeAndre Hopkins, I got excited this weekend. And I went,
it's a sign.
Yeah.
It's a sign.
I was like, this is good. This is good. The defense is already there. Add that little component to the offense.
I'm ready for it.
I think you win the AFC South now.
I sure hope so. We need it.
Well, there you go.
We need it so bad.
Senator Jack Johnson joins us this afternoon on the Matt Murphy Show. We always appreciate the good senator. Hey, Jack, how are you?
I'm great, Matt. Great to be back with you.
Well, it's good to have you. Before I get into some of the goings-on in Williamson County and Franklin, I want to ask you about this weekend's activities. How was the dinner? How was Ron DeSantis received?
He was received very, very well, very positively. His speech was spot on. I think the crowd, and certainly I would surmise that there were probably a lot of folks out there that are fully supporting former President Donald Trump for the Republican nomination. But I would tell you that Ron DeSantis acquitted himself quite well and delivered a very powerful speech. And I think that we will all be in agreement that whoever ends up being the nominee, we will be behind them next year.
Well, I don't have any doubt about that. I feel like a lot of people are making declarative assumptions or statements regarding the presidential race. I mean, I understand where Trump is polling-wise, but I also understand it's July of 2023. And
we're a year away from the convention, so there's a lot of time out there. You're right.
But that's the cycle we live in nowadays, I guess. It's, once one election is done, we're already gearing up for the next election. We've got a special session, it appears. I mean, every indicator is it's 100%. I think you feel the same way. What can you say about it, and what is your anticipation about what, if anything, we can get accomplished next month?
Well, you're right on, Matt. I think that there's no doubt we will be having a special session. The governor has made that very clear. He will be calling us in on August 21st. What will be accomplished during that special session is far less clear. And there are lots of conversations taking place about things that can be done relative to public safety, access to mental health, stiffening penalties for those who commit crimes with guns, maybe looking at additional ways we can secure facilities, including schools. We've touched on this before, but it's worth reiterating. When we have a special session, what we're going to accomplish is decided well in advance of that. We don't go into special session and sit around for several weeks pondering what we think might be good public policy. We do that when we're in regular session for 3 to 4 months out of the year when we convene in January. But every special session I've been a part of, it's decided in advance. Bills are drafted, they are circulated, stakeholders review those, there's feedback, and the actual session itself is somewhat of a formality. We go through the necessary process, constitutional process, to pass a law. So there are good people working on things that they believe will be helpful for good public policy, but we are nowhere near having something that we have all coalesced around that we know we will pass.
I kind of understood, because I had some background conversations, Jack, with the governor's office, and I'm certain that you've had multiple conversations with his office and Bill Lee himself regarding his thought process, and they were telling me that it is not their purpose to pass order of protection laws. It is not their purpose to pass red flag laws. And those are the two conversations that get the most attention because a lot of Tennesseans like myself recognize that, one, red flag laws don't work, and two, they can be, if written improperly, very much in violation of our individual liberties and rights to gun ownership. That said, the governor seems to simply want to take the opportunity to have a very serious sit-down conversation or maybe even brainstorming session about, is there anything we need to do that we can do without violating anyone's rights to protect Tennessee citizens and particularly our young people, considering the aftermath of Covenant. That said, I don't know that we can't do that in regular session, Jack. I mean, I don't know why we necessarily have to spend the time and the money on a special. Is it because we want to address this issue maybe at the time that kids are getting back to school, do you feel?
I think that might be part of it. I think, and I don't speak for the governor, but what I would infer from comments he has made publicly and privately is that he does feel a sense of urgency around this particular subject matter. And I'd like to add one thing, because I think your assessment of his earlier proposed order of protection bill, ERPO, as it's sometimes referred to, red flag law, is spot on. In my estimation, they have been found to be ineffective. I agree they can be used. And I will add a third thing. In the wake of the Bruin decision from the Supreme Court, Matt, I really do believe that it's constitutionally suspect, if not blatantly unconstitutional. So I do think it's important. My assessment is, when I'm talking with my fellow members, there's very little support for any type of order of protection bill or red flag law. That doesn't mean, though, that there aren't things that we can contemplate relative to public safety, access to mental health, involuntary hospitalization for those who are in a mental health crisis, things of that nature. Those are all things that are worthy of conversation, but they are very complex. You have so many moving pieces and parts with some of these things. Getting that all bundled together in something that we can pass during a special session is going to be difficult. It's going to be very challenging. I'm not saying it can't be done, and there are people working very hard now to try to get us to that point. But we're just over a month away from that date that the governor has stipulated for the special session. So there's going to have to be a lot of work done. At a minimum, if we do go into special session and perhaps we contemplate some things, some proposals, and we don't feel like they're fully baked, fully ready to be passed, that doesn't mean we can't have some good productive conversations, come back, work through the fall towards the end of the year, and be prepared to take them up in January.
I believe that police chief, I want to shift gears. It's a related story, but I'm curious as the Senate Majority Leader, your thoughts on the response by Chief of Police John Drake to their decision not to pursue some of the money that has been laid out specifically for SROs in schools. Of course, the legislature and the governor have offered up, I think, $140 million. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, Jack, that would provide an SRO in every school in the state of Tennessee without the need for coming up with local funding. And I think it's a great effort on the part of the governor and the legislature. The city of Nashville, the metro government of Nashville, they have SROs in high schools and middle schools, but not in elementary schools. And the question's been laid on the table multiple times, why not, if it is not a monetary consideration? And now we're being told that they don't have enough police in order to do that functionally. Do you have any thoughts on this? Have you heard this? And what are your thoughts on it?
I have heard it, and I'm somewhat mystified that a city like Nashville or the Nashville School District would not avail themselves of the money that we have appropriated. And let me add, you're right, it's an enormous amount of money, and it is recurring. Oftentimes, government will allocate money on a one-time basis. We'll pay for it for 1 year, but then you're responsible for it after that. No, these are recurring funds that will pay for these school resource officers into perpetuity until a future General Assembly says, no, we're not going to pay that anymore. So it's incredibly important, I think, to have these school resource officers in these schools, not just to provide security and safety. And full transparency, I really enjoyed your interview with Freddie O'Connell. Mm-hmm. And you asked him about this, and I was, flummoxed a bit by his answer. It's important that these kids get to know police officers and their value. School resource officers certainly provide a degree of security, but they do so much more. They bond with these kids. All three of my kids went through Williamson County Public Schools and had a school resource officer from kindergarten all the way through their senior year in high school. And they loved their SROs. They had a wonderful relationship with them. It was a really positive experience. So I hope that the Nashville Metro School Board will reconsider the administration there and take us up on this to provide these school resource officers in the schools. And I hope that the parents will step up and pressure the officials in Nashville to avail themselves of this money we've made available.
Well, and you're right on target in the conversation with Freddie O'Connell, and you can listen to that conversation via podcast, 997WTN.com. We talked about this, and O'Connell, and I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, he seemed to accept the concept that some youngsters in elementary school saw police officers as a negative. And my thought was, well, my goodness, if that's the case, then as a mayoral candidate, you need to lay out ways that we correct that. If that's happening in our elementary schools where young people think of police officers as the bad guy and not the good guy, then we need to correct that instead of accepting it and putting our children potentially in harm's way because of it.
I agree wholeheartedly. And when you talk to these SROs, and I've talked to a number of sheriffs, typically the sheriff's department will oversee the SRO program. And I've talked with numerous sheriffs, including my sheriff in Williamson County, and he will tell you, and other sheriffs will tell you as well, the value that these SROs provide in these schools. They get to know the kids. They know the kids who are struggling with something, potentially having issues, and because of the relationships there, can make sure that the parents are aware and they get them the help that they need. It's just a really, really valuable tool for these schools. So, again, I'm hoping that they will reconsider and take us up on the offer to pay for those. And I get it. There is a hiring issue and there's a capacity issue in there. We are trying to appropriate enough money to make sure that these positions are well paid, and maybe it can't happen overnight, but I believe that the recruitment can take place and get these people on staff to get into these schools.
Jack, in the few minutes that we have left, latest developments on the awful, evil details of this so-called soccer coach, 20 years, illegal alien. We now understand that he was arrested on a couple of occasions. It's my understanding it was 2005, and there's some other – I mean, what do you know about this, and how in the world that can someone get away with being an illegal alien and still get arrested in this state? I don't understand. Is there no ability for local authorities to route him back to ICE if ICE won't accept him?
Well, this is something that our local law enforcement struggles with almost on a daily basis relative to people who are in the country illegally, and certainly monsters like this particular soccer coach that have perpetrated such heinous evil on these poor kids that were his victims. But yes, what happens, law enforcement, if there's some type of an arrest and they apprehend someone who's in the country illegally, they make that determination, they contact ICE, and in a perfect world, the way the system is supposed to work, ICE comes, picks that person up, and deports them, gets them out of the country. We know that is not happening, and that's why we have tens of millions of people that are in the country illegally. There's so many facets to this horrible, horrible case. Number one, the evil perpetrated on these kids, and I hope that he rots under the jail for the rest of his life. Innocent until proven guilty, but if he is found to be guilty of what he has been accused of, then he deserves the worst possible punishment the law can provide. But it also dovetails into this whole conversation we're having about the border, the southern border. We know that President Trump had made tremendous progress, even though many presidents have talked about it. President Trump had made so much progress in securing that border, maybe not 100%, but certainly more so than it ever has been in recent decades. And President Biden has undone that. So, Matt, the thing we have to contemplate is we have people coming across the border every single day who could be capable of the same type of crime. And if we would just secure that border, these people would not be allowed into the country.
Well spoken, Jack. Always good to get your perspective on these matters, and you're always good to the listening audience offering your opinion. Thank you so much. Take care, and we'll talk to you again next time.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Bye-bye.
There's Senator Jack Johnson, Senate Majority Leader in the General Assembly. Back in a moment, 153. Friends, I've been telling you about Savory Spice for a couple of months now. Have you gone? Have you been there? Have you seen the spice? I mean, when you walk into Savory Spice, either location, L&L Market off Charlotte Pike or in Franklin, just off the square, right next to Gray's Pharmacy. And you walk in and you smell it. You smell before you see. You smell before you get to the door, that just delicious smell of different types of spices and salts and peppers, and you smell garlic and oregano. I mean, it's all coming at you. It's just an olfactory sensation at Savory Spice. Now, I'm telling you that I'm losing weight. And I'm losing weight, and I don't have to lose flavor because of Savory Spice, because they're offering so many of these different spice blends that flavor up veggies, flavor up some of the things that are a little bit blander that I'm eating to lose the weight. It's right there at Savory Spice. Plus, you're grown. You've already upped your food game. You know, you buy a nicer cut of meat, you buy some nicer veggies at the farmer's market. Now up that spice game to up that food game with Savory Spice. Savory Spice, 2 locations, Franklin and Nashville. Tell them I sent you, Holly, David, and the crew at Savory Spice.
Hey folks, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the biggest decisions people have to make in retirement is how to take Social Security. You'll get all kinds of workshops about that, and you'll see all kinds of things about that particular topic. Because Social Security, for some people, it might be a third or even more of their income in retirement. So you want to get this decision right. Well, how do you make the decision? Well, one of the things we look at, there are programs we use. This is one of the simpler programs that we use right here. And I want to just show you how it works and how it actually unravels some of the misconceptions we have about Social Security. So we have 2 people here, they're age 60, and they're looking at filing for Social Security. One person has a retirement benefit of $2,500. That is their main benefit from Social Security at their full retirement age. The other one has a $500 benefit. And what we can do here, which is kind of cool, is look at this and say, okay, well, what if we have this person has that life expectancy and that person has that life expectancy there? And then what we do is we assume a certain cost of living increase in Social Security. What would be the optimal for taking the benefit where they get the most benefit or the most bang from their buck? And where we see the star, that shows that we would have the best benefit. Now, this is one person filing at age 67, the other person at age 70. Well, a lot of people think, well, I retire, I have to take Social Security at the same time that I retire, and that's not necessarily the case. As you can see here, one may take it at one age and one may take it at another, even though they're the same age right now. Now, the other thing we can do is say, well, what if I took it early? What if I took it at this particular age right here, where one person's 65 and the other one's 65? You can actually see how much it could cost in benefits. When we do this, we can see how much it might cost us and how much it might affect us negatively to do that. Now, the other thing we can do is we can play around the life expectancies, and we say, well, if this person lives to that age, now the cost is $187,000 in this particular example, taking it at that age right there. So you can see, based on your own life expectancy, and typically people will say, well, what did my parents live to, and come up with that type of data. So this is just part of the financial planning process that we use at Paul Winkler Inc. If you want to know more about what we do, you can get a free 15-minute phone call at our website, paulwinkler.com. We do financial planning, full financial planning. We do investing education and investing. We actually help people through those decisions, helping them set up their 401ks and those types of decisions, as well as risk management. But we don't get paid on commission. That's what makes us so different from other firms out there that do what we do. So if you want to find out more, go to paulwinkler.com.
It is 2 o'clock. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. A hot and hazy Monday. Those Canadian wildfires affecting Middle Tennessee air today with the air quality in the yellow or moderate category. Possible storms this evening as well. Complete forecast just a few minutes away right now, 92 degrees. And is there a serial killer on the loose in Portland, Oregon area? That's the question among some. Here's Alex Stone.
Weeks ago, police in Oregon said the deaths of several women, mostly found in remote areas, were not connected. Now investigators say they've identified a person of interest in the deaths of 4 of the women who were found dead in the Portland area since February. Nobody has been arrested or charged. Prosecutors say they have identified one person linked to all 4 deaths, but they also don't believe there is a danger to the community. Police won't say how the victims died or what links the cases together.
In Nashville, News 2 says that the Metro Police Department is leading a 3-day security summit for Middle Tennessee school safety officials. The captain of the safety division, Officer Stephen Bowers, says that they wanted to do something to be able to come together and network and learn from each other. Tomorrow, they'll go through active shooter situations, and on Wednesday, they'll deal with security breaches. The summit is happening at the Christ Presbyterian Academy in Belle Meade. And this week, over in the nation's capital, the House Oversight Committee will have a hearing on UFOs, or what's now called unidentified aerial phenomena. Here's Ike Ajaji in Washington with more.
Representative Tim Burchett announcing on Twitter that the House Oversight Committee will hold a hearing on UAPs on Wednesday. The hearing comes after several Republican lawmakers promised to look deeper into the flying objects following unproven whistleblower allegations that the U.S. military has recently recovered a crashed alien spacecraft. Burchett told reporters Monday that he's done with the cover-ups, but couldn't elaborate into specifics.
And back here in Nashville, a 21-year-old man is in custody for statutory rape after police say he was caught having sex with a 13-year-old girl at her grandfather's home in Antioch. Channel 4 says Jose Delgado Campos allegedly pulled a gun on the teen's grandfather, but the gun was wrestled away and Campos was held at gunpoint until officers arrived. Police say Campos and the girl started having sex in June after they connected on Instagram. And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch, any of our platforms where we provide Super Talk TV, you might see that or notice, hey, I think Murphy might have lost a couple of pounds. Well, I have. I've lost 18.5 pounds. Thank you to PhD Weight Loss. I knew that I needed to lose some weight. My life is sedentary. I mean, you sit here for 3 hours a day, yapping around, and you spend a lot of time doing research, and that's a lot of sitting. And I'm not really an exercise kind of guy, so I knew inputs were important. PhD Weight Loss provides the proper inputs specifically and uniquely tailored to me. In other words, you have a consultation, you sit down, you talk about your lifestyle, you talk about your likes and your dislikes, you give them a little bit of information, and they give you a lot of feedback in the form of a food program that works and helps you lose the weight. Toward that end, like I say, 18.5 pounds in a month. I've been on PhD weight loss for 1 month today, and I've lost 18.5. Well, I don't know. It might be more than that now because I weighed 2 days ago. The point is this. You could lose, if you're a guy, 3 to 5 pounds a week. If you're a woman, 2 to 3 pounds a week. And I encourage you to call PhD Weight Loss to get that process started. By the way, once they develop a program for you, they know when they're going to get to your goal, and they'll talk to you about your target weight. And if you don't get to within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of your program, PhD continues to coach you for free until you do. That is the PhD guarantee. Go to myphdweightloss.com, mention my name, myphdweightloss.com, and begin the program that works. Begin PhD Weight Loss. Well, hello. Fancy meeting you here. It's hour number 3 of the Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Glad to be with you. Information-fueled and opinion-driven. Information for the masses. We hand off to The Drive with Brian Wilton at 3 o'clock this afternoon. If you were listening earlier today, you heard the first show of many of young Chris Hand from 9 until noon. Glad to have him in the fold. Chris Hand announced as our brand new 9 to noon host on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris is a great guy. He's a conservative guy. I am the, I just realized something. Now, Mason, I know you don't care about the politics of all this necessarily, although you're learning. I mean, I don't want to say you're learning like you're a neophyte, but you're probably, I mean, radio is your inclination. Is that fair?
Yeah, I'm getting myself comfortable with the situation.
So you're getting your feet wet on content.
Sir.
Yeah, I got you.
Yes, sir.
But would it shock you to know that I'm the least conservative voice on this radio station?
Not
I
that
am.
much.
It's true. I mean, I lean toward chaos. I'm a chaos man. I'm an anarchist.
Well,
now I'm a libertarian. So I'm at, with the addition of Hand, you've got Mandis in the morning. I mean, he's as conservative as the day is long. And Brian Wilson is as conservative as he is tall. And then there's Hand, and I'm more of the weirdo of the group, I suppose.
Keeps it all interesting.
But
Mix it up a little bit.
That's exactly right. We like on this radio station to quote the fabulous feature film The Blues Brothers. On this radio station, we like both kinds, country and western. That's a dated reference lost to younger listeners of the Murphy Show. Anyway, you can find us online, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, on the Super Talk TV feed. I was asked, someone complained because they could not see the whiteboard today, so I tried to move it to the right. All of you complainers out there, can they see it there, Mason?
Yep, got it right there.
What is the title of this episode, by the way?
Let me pull it up again. Hold on.
You want to go ahead and read that to me?
I got you. Just had fun with Chris Hand. Now you're stuck with Matt Murphy.
Oh, what's the deal there? What's up with that?
I don't know.
Did Mac Morey name this
in.
edition? Mac Morey and I used to be friends. Now he's got his new BFF, and we're not friends anymore. Did you know that?
Here we go.
Did you know that?
Oh, please.
Oh, he's got his little buddy now. He's got. Oh no. Oh, hey, Mac.
Oh, hello.
How are you? I didn't see you back there.
Mighty fine.
While you're back there, I have a sports related question for you.
Oh yeah.
So
love it.
I think this is official, right? I mentioned this to Mason, and I don't want to belabor the point, but. I told you when I first got here, we talked when we first met, and we talked about affiliations.
Yes, of course.
And I said, I'm a Bulldog for life. I'm an Atlanta Brave for life. I'm ready to become a hockey fan with the Predators, and that's slowly happening. I got to go to a game for that.
Yes, got to get you to a game.
And I said, I'm screw the Falcons. Goodbye. I'm a Titans man because that's easy, right? But you can't make that happen. That you can't force that to happen. It's just got to happen. And I think it happened because I was driving for ungodly amounts of hours over the weekend.
Man, you didn't get out of the car this weekend.
1,200 miles this weekend. I'll tell you why in a minute. And I happened to have it on ESPN radio yesterday morning when the news broke that DeAndre Hopkins officially was going to be a Tennessee Titan. And I got excited.
Oh, there it is.
It's like, yeah! Somebody to throw to. He's going to. I mean, what's Burks on the other side of the ball,
Treylon Burks,
right? So
yep.
it's Treylon Burks is going to get some more looks, maybe less double teams.
100%.
Double team hot, so it's going to open him up. Derrick Henry's going to be better. The entire offense is elevated, and now I believe that the Tennessee Titans are the favorite in the AFC South. And I know somebody will say the Jaguars, whatever. The defense is already the Titans' defense. There's no problem on that side of the ball. The offense was always the problem. I know I'm talking to a Chief, so I'm not saying we're winning the championship.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely, this is all true.
I believe I think some will stick with the Jags as the pick in the South.
I would, but I think it's going to be really, really close.
But I think it's tight now.
I think it's very tight.
This was an element. I don't think the Titans make the playoffs without this ad. And I'm not saying one guy can have a trickle down effect on that offense.
Absolutely. Yes.
As long as Tannehill remains healthy and he's got some targets, and then you see what Will Levis can do, and take it from there.
This is your first full year of Titan fanhood, man. I'm excited to watch this happen. One name to keep your eye on here, Chig Okonkwo, second-year tight end. He's going to be a monster.
Is it his first name is Chig?
Chig.
Is it
Chig Okonkwo?
Okay, all right. Well, and all right. I got
very
it.
fast,
Got
very
it.
big.
Got it. So
he's a beast.
So you're thinking Titans Chiefs AFC Championship game? Would that not blow your? Would that frazzle your mind?
There'd be a lot of seats for the Titans to buy at Arrowhead Stadium. I don't know if the whole team could fit into the section. But
Here we go. Because the natural assumption is that they'll have the home team advantage, and then the Titan people aren't going to travel. And then, I see what you did there. That's good. You excited about SEC Media Days?
Woo! Yeah, it's awesome, man. That's how you kind of know it's really starting to come together.
That's when it starts to get real,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
This is when I don't obsess like some, and I hope that you don't either. Have a life, but this is when I check back in.
Yep.
Right?
It's like, all right, here we go.
I'll dabble. I'll go over to the spring games, watch a little of the spring games, but then I'm out, and then now I'm checking back in. How we doing over there? And by the way, while we're talking about football for a minute, you're a Tennessee Volunteer.
Go Vols.
Can I just thank you guys for paying our tight end thank you?
I knew you were going to say that. I saw that on Twitter. I was like, dang it. I was hoping he wouldn't notice this one.
What's up with that?
We always do this, man. We just, please come here, please. Trevor Lawrence, Darnell Washington, guys, please.
So if you didn't hear the story, I mean, look, water under the bridge. Heupel's running the pro. I mean,
Yes.
I'm not trying to rub this in.
No, it's different
and
now.
you avoided the bowl issues. You pay the money, get the scholarship thing behind you, and off you go. Obviously, Pruitt was just bad all the way around.
Cancerous, yes.
Here's my question. I'm a lot of time to think in the car. Every coach in America understands how to cheat, except Jeremy Pruitt. Right? You know what I mean?
100%.
It's like we're not Pollyanna. We're under no illusions that these types of things, even before NIL, didn't go on.
Of course.
But how can you be that bad at cheating?
Getting McDonald's bags full of cash. What's going on here? El Chapo or something. Pruitt?
Can I get a little Five Guys action over here? You're bringing me the crystal bags. Come on, man. Gotta up your game. Oh, Pruitt. What a loser.
Gosh, he is.
Well, and could have been, I don't know what he could have been. He was a great defensive coordinator for a minute.
He was. And now he's the ball boy for Saban. Have fun over there.
Yeah, good luck.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, Saban's, if you're Saban's ball boy, you got to go pretty low. I'd like to apologize to my dead mother. Mom, I'm sorry. I just couldn't help it.
That really got out of hand fast.
It did. I blame Mac. I blame Mac Morris. He's trashing up my show like he's probably going to trash up Chris Hands, his new buddy over there.
9 to noon.
Yeah, 9 to noon. Maury,
throw it in
Chris
there.
Hand. Yeah, I mean, that was a great first day for Chris. I mean, Chris knows his way around this state, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's a pro.
He knows his way around the radio station, knows his way around the state, and just a great infusion of youth and enthusiasm, and he's hungry, and he's going to tackle it. He's going to get after it from 9 to noon, and everyone's very excited about Chris being here. 2:15, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. David is next in Hendersonville. Hello, David.
Hey, how you doing there, Matt?
I'm well, David. I hope you are.
I'm doing just fine. Matt, while you was talking to the senator there, it made me think of something that my wife brought up to me the other day. There's car lots apparently here in Tennessee that are selling cars, and they're advertising you don't need license. So apparently they're selling cars to, I'm going to say, illegal immigrants that don't have license. If you don't have license, you can't get insurance. So we got a lot of people driving with no insurance, and it's probably never drove before on our streets.
Well, first and foremost, if you can't speak or understand English, if you cannot read English, I don't care what your status is in the United States of America, you should not be able to get a driver's license. That's a safety protocol. Our signage, our everything about operating a vehicle and understanding signs on the road, you have to understand English on the road. So that's first and foremost. Obviously, if you're not a legal resident of the United States of America, you ought not to be able to get a driver's license, because getting a driver's license is going to afford you opportunity to do other things that illegal aliens ought not to be able to do. And then, but David, the obvious, I guess they could, I don't know. I need to think about this for a moment. So these businesses are advertising that they'll sell you a car without a license.
Yes.
My question is then how do they let you drive it off the lot?
Well, that I don't know, because you have to have license in order to get insurance.
Well, and I would presume that they would be somewhat liable if I go on the lot, I don't have a driver's license, I buy a car, I pay cash, I leave the lot, I run into grandma, kill grandma, then is not that business liable? They sold me a car when I had no driver's license.
You would think so. I don't know. I'm gonna find the ad, and I'll get it to you. But I'd like to know which one. I'd like to know which car lots are doing this.
Wait, have you not seen them?
I didn't. My wife, I was outside working, and she come out and she saw it on Marketplace, and the auto part. And I tried to get her to, she's not a person that is confrontational. She won't call in on anybody because she's scared of repercussions from it. But I tried to get her to call in, and I was busy in the backyard doing something. I didn't have time to do it. But
yeah, I need to look into this, because it is hard for me to believe that there's not some illegality going on there. Maybe they're just playing under the radar screen a little bit with their advertising. But right. I have a difficult time, and David, thanks for the call. I'm going to move along, but I have a difficult time believing that it is legal for a used car lot to sell to someone without them providing proof of identification and proof of an ability to operate a motor vehicle. Now, I could be wrong, and but I doubt it. I've been wrong before. And more than anything, that's a liability issue. I come on your car lot, I give you $5,000 in cash, I drive off with a vehicle, I don't show you any identification, and I run into grandma and kill grandma. Well, you provided me, that license is almost kind of like a background check when you're buying a gun. That license indicates that I understand how to operate a motor vehicle on the roads of the state of Tennessee. I understand what the laws are and what I'm permitted to do and what I'm not permitted to do. Now, let me circle back to my suggestion that you should have to understand English in order to operate a motor vehicle. This is not a xenophobic position. We are a nation of individuals from other places, historically. And I'm not against that. Despite the fact that the backbone of my heritage being a Native American, not against that. But we are a melting pot. We've always been known as a melting pot. We're not chunky stew. And while I respect and frankly appreciate different cultures keeping customs and traditions from their culture, there are certain things that you're expected to do to be in America. So no one begrudges Chinatown doing Chinatown's thing. No one begrudges, individuals of a Germanic origin from keeping some of those, let's get as stereotypical as I possibly, Oktoberfest, or whatever it might be. Native American culture, hearkening back to that culture, Hispanic culture, hearkening back to that culture. But there are certain things that I expect you to do as a part of the bargain. America is the shining city on a hill, as much as the Democrats are trying to kill us and kill it, and they are. People want to come here. We're the honeypot. If you do so in a legal fashion, I would suggest that you do it that way, although not many people are. There are there's a certain number of expectations that we have for you. I don't expect you to know English tomorrow, but I expect that that's a part of it. If I moved to Spain, I would feel like that it might be necessary in order for me to take full advantage of the Spanish culture, that I understand some Spanish. If I move to Germany, I don't expect everyone to know English. And similarly, if you want to operate a motor vehicle on American roadways, you have to understand English. Otherwise, you have no idea what the signs are saying. You are a health and safety risk to me. 222 on Super Talk. Speaking of health and safety risks, let's talk about your home for a moment and the foundation of said home. Do you have issues in your home? I have a couple of tips for you. Well, I don't have a couple of tips for you. United Structural Systems has offered me a few tips to relate to you about foundation repair, waterproofing, and concrete leveling. Some things that you should look for if you're wondering if your house has issues. I don't want you to have issues. USS doesn't want you to have issues. But over 25,000 residential customers have come to USS because they're a name that you can trust for foundation repair, waterproofing, and concrete leveling. Now, what are some of those symptoms? If you have standing water in your crawl space, if you smell musty odors, if you have cracks in your basement floors, if your hardwood floors seem to be cupping or buckling, then you have some water issues that need to be dealt with. Similarly, on the foundation side, if you've got walls bowing or stair-step cracks or the chimney tilts, then these are signs of possible foundation issues. Your house is trying to tell you something, and it's time to call USS. Call the best. Call USS. They've been helping people just like you. They would love to tell you that nothing's wrong and you're A-OK, but if something is wrong, they're going to give you a great value. They've been serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama for 25 years. USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com. 615-488-7855. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to USS.
A 21-year-old man on the wrong side of the gun that he pulled first. FDA approving a drug that should help prevent a common virus in children, and an attempted kidnapping in Tennessee. Those stories coming up 30 minutes after the hour of 2 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm going to have to. So I guess I can wait. 226 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I have a few more thoughts about the announcement by Chief John Drake. This was Friday, I guess, where he reiterated his commitment to school safety, but he said that they couldn't possibly hire 70 people within a year. This is what he said. I'll have more on that after the bottom of the hour. It's just an odd thing. All right, more on this ability to purchase a vehicle without driving it or without having a driver's license. So this was born out of the story involving this awful Campos and his sexual assault, rape of young boys. He was in the country illegally, and apparently he was cited on 3 separate occasions for driving without a driver's license. And so this brought up the conversation of, well, they're selling cars in the state of Tennessee without requiring driver's licenses, which I have a hard time believing. And Dell writes in and says, and you would be wrong again. Do you need to know how to cook to buy a stove? No. You don't need to have an operator's license to buy a car. To operate it on the roads, yes. To buy, no. All right, so I'm more concerned with the operation. I would agree with you that I understand. I mean, I just don't know who I would make the bill of sale to. So I would think it would be more of a company's business, or at least a legal requirement that it would be in your company's best interest, if not a legal requirement, that you track the sale of your vehicles, and I have to verify that I know who you are. And so what I would expect, some form of identification. But I would agree with you that form of identification, let's put that argument aside for a moment. That ID could just be a legal ID and not an actual driver's license. You can buy a car, have it towed to your house, and have it sit in the front yard for all I care. It's your property at that point. What I would suggest is there's some legal liability to a used car dealership allowing someone without a driver's license to buy a car. That's one thing, but then to drive it off the lot, that's another thing. And Dell says, I have no authority to enforce Tennessee motor vehicle laws. I'm not a Tennessee DOS or other law enforcement agency. Well, I understand that too. But there are certain aspects to car ownership and driving an automobile that are different than owning a stove. You're on public roadways, therefore you are automatically. The reason that we license people to drive to begin with is not for your safety. Right? Everyone understand that? We don't require you to get a driver's license to protect you. Frankly, I could give a rip about you. You're required to have a driver's license, so I have some safety and assurance that you understand the rules of the road, despite the fact that, most 18-year-olds wouldn't know the rules of the road if they hit them on the head or they flip the car over. But your driver's license is to ensure that you understand the social contract that we're all entering into when we all get on the roadways. But, I mean, Dell, to your point, I understand what you're saying, but I would think that to protect yourself, that you would want some form of identification to make sure you understood who you're making the bill of sale out to is the person they say they are. 2:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Who has held the long? Well, I was about to go to you, but you hung up. Matt, you're next. You're the beneficiary. Hello, Matt. How are you?
Hello, Mike Murphy. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, I'm happy that you're here. What's on your mind?
My mind is we're trying to put a Band-Aid on all this stuff. And the bottom line is this country sells everything they can for at the highest dollar. And once you stop doing that, then we can start having policies that is going to benefit the citizens of this country. Everybody's complaining about China, but no one complained about China selling goods in the 90s when they were making all that money, or when they were not as powerful as China has become in the last 30 years. So when you're dealing with what I don't like is You can do a lot of things here, but you can't do things in other countries. You can't buy property in other countries. You know, you're always having attacking the people at the southern border. But you know what? These Asians are coming in here, bringing multi-trillion dollars in here and getting political power, and they're very quiet.
Hold on a second, Matt. You're unpacking a lot of things, and I want to allow you to unpack them with a little bit more breadth. So I'm going to put you on hold for just a second. Matt's in Smyrna. I would agree with you on the Chinese thing, and I wouldn't say in the 90s. I would say right now. If you think China's a problem, if you want to understand where the real problem is, turn over all the stuff in your house and see where it was made. And you'll begin to understand the complexity of the issue. It's 2:32. It's time for Mac Maury on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.232, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 92 degrees right now, and those Canadian wildfires having an effect currently on the Middle Tennessee air quality, currently in the moderate or yellow category here in Middle Tennessee. Chance for some severe thunderstorms later on tonight. We've got a weather forecast that'll tell you all about it coming up 2 minutes. Right now in Nashville, police say a 21-year-old man wound up on the wrong side of the gun that he pulled first. Jose Delgado Campos allegedly pulled a gun on a 13-year-old girl's grandfather, who authorities say caught Campos allegedly having sex with the girl. Channel 4 says the gun was wrestled away, and Campos was held at gunpoint until police arrived and took him into custody for statutory rape. And the FDA approved the first ever drug aimed at protecting babies and toddlers against the respiratory virus RSV. Ike Kajaji in Washington with more.
The drug is called Beyfortus, made by AstraZeneca, and it's supposed to protect babies and toddlers up to 2 years old from contracting RSV, which causes acute respiratory infections. Under the FDA approval, babies, including preterm infants, can receive a single injection to protect against their first season of RSV, which typically lasts about 5 months. U.S. officials approved the drug based on 3 studies showing it reduced the risk of RSV infection between 70 and 75%. Beyfortus is already approved in Canada, Europe, and the UK.
Right now in Tennessee, 41-year-old Kareem J. Wade was arrested last Friday after trying to kidnap a 10-year-old girl. This happened in Nashville off of Dickerson Pike when Wade tried to pull the girl out of a vehicle so that she was seatbelted in. Wade ran away and then told officials what he did as he surrendered. He's now in jail on a $76,000 bond. And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
I'm very excited because today, in about an hour, I will be laying down a time. I'm going on my own time over to McGill's world-famous clock store. And I'm laying down the time for you to beat and become a winner against me in the Big Matt Murphy Challenge at McGill's world-famous clock store. 7 targets, 14 rounds. We'll see whose time is the best. And if you can beat Murphy's time, and you probably can, by the way, because I've never been that good with the short gun. But either way, you beat my time and you're a winner. You can come when I'm there on the 21st because I'll be live and in person from 3 until 7 o'clock. I'm shifting over to Brian Wilson's time that day, and I'll be out at McGill's world-famous clock store Friday afternoon and would love to see you. You can mount a time then, or you can choose to do so at any time this week if you pop on by the Glock store and say, I want part of the Matt Murphy Challenge. Find out more at Glockstore.com. That's Glockstore.com. Locations, hours, and all the like. And come see us this Friday from 3 until 7 as we broadcast live from the world-famous Glock store. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Brian Wilson in the drive at 3 o'clock this afternoon. My name is Matt Murphy. All right, I need to clean this up. And if I spoke inartfully, I apologize. But I'm just going to clean this up. I do not disagree with the concept of private sales being just that, private. Mine was never a suggestion that you should be required to have a license in order to purchase a vehicle, although I may have said it that way. And if I did so, I apologize. My point is this. In order to, as you run a business, if you're running a car business, in order to allow that person to, after purchasing the vehicle, one, my business is going to require me to get some sort of identification for the sale itself, to track the sale. Secondarily, in order to allow you to leave without making my company somewhat liable for someone leaving the lot without the ability to operate a vehicle, I would think that there would be some requirement in order for you to get off the lot. Now, someone asked about boats. I don't know about boating in the state of Tennessee. I don't know if you're required to have a license to own or to operate a boat. I would assume that you would have to have a license to operate a boat, but I could be wrong. You certainly don't have a license to operate or to buy one. I am not suggesting, as some are screaming at me on the super text line about, that you should be required to show identification for any private sale. Obviously not. What I'm saying is, if a buyer leaves my lot and I've sold them a vehicle without verifying that they have the understanding as to how to operate that vehicle on the roadways, and I watch them leave, then if I might not be criminally liable, but I certainly might be civilly liable in a lawsuit if they kill grandma and then grandma's family wants to sue. I would think that while it should not necessarily be a government requirement, that perhaps it's just a good civic responsibility to do so. So I'm not in the business of requiring identification for private sales. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the operation of a vehicle on our roadways. That is a common place. That is a public place. And I don't care about you. I don't care about you wearing a seatbelt, for example. Don't give one rip. But I would suggest that you're wearing a seatbelt as a driver of a vehicle is going to give you a greater ability to control your vehicle in the event that something bad happens. And then that, in effect, could protect me as somebody that's coming toward you. John says, I think the boat has to be registered with the state, similar to a license plate on a car. And Larry says, you do not have to have a license to operate even a yacht, as long as you're not doing charters. Okay. Well, I'm learning something new about Tennessee law. That's good. But once again, it's all about the operation of a vehicle on a public highway. If you want to purchase a car, have it towed to your house, and drive it around your property I don't care. It's your business. Matt is finishing up here. Matt, thank you for your patience. I'm glad you were able to hold.
Yeah. It's just that some of these things are just not a right and left issue. Some things are just a human issue. And we in this country will sell our mama for the highest bidder.
Well, but Matt, I would say that there's nothing in the world wrong with the free market if you let competitive forces do what they do. Now, with certain rules that are going to make sure that we're operating on a level and equal playing field.
The level and equal playing field is subjective, because what is good in the 1970s might not be good in the 2000s. And I don't believe, and I don't condone America selling all of their land to people that are not citizens of this country, because we can't go buy land in other people's countries. And that is the dumbest thing to me ever. But
you think that America should make it illegal for me to sell my land to a foreigner?
I think that America should sell land to citizens of this country. If you're not a citizen, you can't buy.
I'm talking about your land. I'm talking about your land. You want to sell land to, some Chinese guy.
No. If that Chinese person.
In other words, it's not your land really; it's the government's land if they get to tell you what to do with it.
Well, they tell me that.
Well, I mean, if you don't pay your property taxes, they come and get it. I get you. I would love to have a future conversation about this, Matt, but I just don't have the time right now. But call back. It's a very interesting subject, the subject of property ownership and whether or not we should disabuse individuals of the ability to sell property to foreign entities. But I can't do that right now because I've got other things to do, like talk to Jeff in Mount Juliet. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, Matt. My wife and I just purchased a vehicle just about a month ago, and it was going to be titled in both our names. We paid cash for it. When we were finalizing the paperwork on it, they wanted our driver's license. So I questioned why, and they said they had to have a valid driver's license to purchase a car in Tennessee. I don't know about used cars. This was a new vehicle.
Okay.
And they said that you're required to have a driver's license to purchase a vehicle and 18 years of age or older to purchase a vehicle.
Well, that's interesting news. Yeah, I like that. And you know what? You bring up the interesting point, too, that if I'm selling a vehicle and everybody's telling me, you don't have to have a driver's license. Okay, calm down, everyone. From a liability standpoint, I was referring to a business. But let's talk about a private sale for a minute. I would just consider it my civic duty. I mean, Mason comes to me. Mason wants to buy my truck. I say, okay, Mason Scott, I got cash right here. I'm ready to buy your truck. All right, good deal, man. You got money, I got a truck, I got the keys, I got the title. Who do I make the title out to? So I'm transferring that title from myself to someone else. I guess I could trust him. There's nothing illegal about trusting him. But from just a civic duty standpoint, I would say, well, let me see your license so I can write all this out. You know? I don't know. Maybe I'm off the rocker. David is in Nashville. We're running through a few telephone calls. Thank you for making them. David, hello. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. I saw Doug Sattel, S-I-T-T-E-L on
Hey,
Google.
David. Hey, 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 David. Nobody can hear you. 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 Nobody can hear you.
September 16th.
I'm just putting him on hold because I want to scream at you. Let's see if he's still going. Yeah, he's still going. Look at there. Hey, David. Hey, David. See, this is a seminar guy. He calls nationally to like a lot of different talk shows. Listen, and see, he's just yapping. He's just talking. Like, are you still talking? No, he's still talking. Let's try him one more time. Hey, you still talking? Hey, jackass, you still talking? Yeah, he's still talking. See, I don't know why. I should just hang up on him. But I want to try to get through to this guy to figure out what is his deal. Hey, what is your deal? Hey, nobody's hearing you. No one is hearing you. No one is hearing you. No one is hearing you because I'm talking over you. I'm trying to talk to you. Okay? Are you willing to talk to me?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Why do you do this? You call nationally to all these radio shows. I'm just curious, and you try to monologue, and everybody hangs up on you. Are you mentally disturbed? Why do you do this? Okay, see, this is a mentally disturbed human being that ought to be locked up in an institution somewhere. Jacob is next. He waited for like 30 minutes to do that. Jason is next. Or Jacob. Pardon me, Jacob. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm trippy because of that last call. But that guy's been calling me. That guy's been calling me for 20 years. Started in Montgomery.
It's a little absurd.
He's an insane. He's literally an insane person because all he does, he calls radio shows and he jabbers like that until people cut him off. And I've long tried to talk to him because I want to get inside of that insanity, but it's a fool's errand. Anyway.
It sounds like that would be too deep of a subject to try to.
Shallow minds and all. What's on your mind, Jacob? What do you got?
So the whole boat vessels, the state laws differ from the length of the boat or the vessel. If they're motorized or non-motorized, they do have to be registered. You have the option of registering them for 1, 3, or 5 years. There are certain requirements, like I said, for the vessels, certain requirements such as whistles, throwable flotation devices, fire extinguishers, and as such. depending on length and size of boats. And as far as having to have a license to operate a motorized vessel, anyone that is born after 1989 has to have a boat license. They have to go through the TWRA classifications to meet the requirements to be able to operate a motorized vessel.
Well, there you go. I mean, I'm going to lean on your knowledge of this, Jacob, because I don't have any. So there you go. And so that's good to know when I want to get my boat, get it out on Old Hickory Lake. Old Hickory Lake's the redneck lake, right? Percy Priest is rich folks lake. Is that fairly accurate? Oh, here comes Maury. Oh, he comes. You just get off the phone with your buddy Chris Hand, and now you want to talk to me? Is that what it is? Hey, Chris, I got to go. I got to answer. Murphy's asking stupid questions again.
What were you talking about? The Percy Priest?
Old Hickory is the redneck lake, and Percy Priest is the rich folks lake. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
I mean, that's basically right. Yeah?
That is.
Okay.
I don't like saying it because I go to Percy Priest, but I think that's more true.
Ooh, do you now? What are you yachting about in?
My father's got a very nice pontoon boat. I do not.
You yacht in your father's vessel.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's it.
Can you operate it?
I can.
Okay. Next time you're on your boat with your dad,
oh yeah,
would you take a fake setup shot like Mandis did? Did you see the Mandis shot?
Yes.
Where Amy let him drive the boat for like 20 seconds and they took the picture?
Here you go, buddy. Amy.
Don't.
All right.
That's you. That's not me. Dan, Mac Morey said something about you getting juice box if you operate the boat correctly. I did not. It's 2:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy, the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief is located in Franklin. Matter of fact, I've not been in a few months because my back feels so good because of what they did for my back. Oh, man, they alleviated the compression that was on my discs. They alleviated the compression that was on my spine, both in my upper neck and my lower back, and I feel so much better. I can play golf again with ease and regularity. Don't have to worry about that back tensing up, seizing up, or tightening up. And now it's time for my wife. She mentioned some leg pain that she's having. She said, can you get me into the Dr. Gill Center and see some of the qualified individuals like Dr. Wendy, Dr. V, Dr. D, and the rest of the team? And I was like, of course I can. I know people. So we're scheduling her an appointment to the Dr. Gill Center, and I encourage you to do the same thing. For less than $50, you can get a complete diagnosis and a prescription for success that doesn't involve pills and does not certainly involve surgeries. Make the call that so many others have made to the Dr. Gill Center. Here's that number, 615-882-4838, 882-4838 for the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin.
Hey folks, I'm Paul Winkler. One of the biggest decisions people have to make in retirement is how to take Social Security. You'll get all kinds of workshops about that, and you'll see all kinds of things about that particular topic. Because Social Security, for some people, it might be a third or even more of their income in retirement. So you want to get this decision right. Well, how do you make the decision? Well, one of the things we look at, there are programs we use. This is one of the simpler programs that we use right here. And I want to just show you how it works and how it actually unravels some of the misconceptions we have about Social Security. So we have two people here, they're age 60, and they're looking at filing for Social Security. One person has a retirement benefit of $2,500. That is their main benefit from Social Security at their full retirement age. The other one has a $500 benefit. And what we can do here, which is kind of cool, is look at this and say, okay, well, what if we have this person has that life expectancy and that person has that life expectancy there? And then what we do is we assume a certain cost of living increase in Social Security. What would be the optimal for taking the benefit where they get the most benefit or the most bang from their buck? And where we see the star, that shows that we would have the best benefit. Now, this is one person filing at age 67, the other person at age 70. Well, a lot of people think, well, I retire, I have to take Social Security at the same time that I retire, and that's not necessarily the case. As you can see here, one may take it at one age and one may take it at another, even though they're the same age right now. Now, the other thing we can do is say, well, what if I took it early? What if I took it at this particular age right here, where one person's 65 and the other one's 65? You can actually see how much it could cost in benefits. When we do this, we can see how much it might cost us and how much it might affect us negatively to do that. Now, the other thing we can do is we can play around the life expectancies, and we say, well, if this person lives to that age, now the cost is $187,000 in this particular example, taking it at that age right there. So you can see, based on your own life expectancy, and typically people will say, well, what did my parents live to, and come up with that type of data. So this is just part of the financial planning process that we use at Paul Winkler Inc. If you want to know more about what we do, you can get a free 15-minute phone call at our website, paulwinkler.com. We do financial planning, full financial planning. We do investing, education, and investing. We actually help people through those decisions, helping them set up their 401ks and those types of decisions, as well as risk management. But we don't get paid on commission. That's what makes us so different from other firms out there that do what we do. So if you want to find out more, go to paulwinkler.com.
President Biden's latest way to try and forgive people from their student loans, SROs and their places in Tennessee schools, and Taylor Swift breaking records. I'll explain at 3 p.m. I'm Mac Morey here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Like record albums? That seems counterintuitive. Like other people's? Like smashing them? Matt Murphy with a couple of minutes before we hand off to the drive with Brian Wilson. Maury, I blame you. I was not getting screamed at on the super text line until you started to participate in the program, and now everybody's yelling at me about the lakes. All right, first off, y'all seem to think that I think something being a redneck thing is bad. I do not. That's good.
It's great.
Like, I would want to be a part of the redneck lake, if there is one. But we are getting a tremendous reaction to which lake is the redneckier of the two, and where is the rich person's lake, which is apparently neither Old Hickory or Percy Priest.
Tim's Ford.
It's Tim's Ford.
Yeah,
was the consensus online.
It's fair. It's a different echelon. Yeah.
No, I get it. And And Priest is just a little sample of the reaction. Priest is garbage. Y'all need to come over to Center Hill. No, both are redneck lakes. Dale Hollow is for rich folk. Plenty of rich folks in Hendersonville. Mr. MAGA fishes at the redneck lake. And then somebody wants to know, several people actually want to know if you have a license to operate that boat that your dad operates, or is he breaking the law by giving you the wheel there?
I think news is coming up here. So.
All right, so John Drake, I don't know anything about him, but I think John Drake's telling a fib saying that he can't have 70 positions filled by June 30th, 2024, which was what he would have to do for the $5 million for SRO positions in elementary schools. More on that tomorrow as we start up a Tuesday edition. But right now it's time for The Drive with Brian Wilson. Until then, have a great afternoon, folks. So long.
Three o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. 93 degrees in those wildfires from Canada affecting Middle Tennessee's air quality right now in the yellow or moderate category. Some thunderstorms possible later today as well. Full forecast and the first afternoon traffic report on the way in 5 minutes. Right now in the nation's capital, Republicans are criticizing President Biden's latest effort to forgive student loan debts after the Supreme Court rejected his first plan to zero out tens of millions of debt balances. The president last week unveiled a new, more targeted plan involving less than $1 million, but the new program already faces legal challenges. And on Capitol Hill today, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy predicted another legal defeat for the Biden administration.
The Supreme Court has made a decision on that. I'm not quite sure what the president's thinking about doing. He's trying to make about 70-some% of America to pay for about 10% of America. I don't think that's right. You take out a loan, you say you're going to pay it back. In America, you pay your loan back.
Right now in Nashville, a 21-year-old man faces statutory rape after getting caught having sex with a 13-year-old girl. Police say Jose Delgado Campos allegedly pulled a handgun on the girl's grandfather, but the grandfather wrestled away the gun and held Campos at gunpoint until police arrived. Reports say Campos and the 13-year-old girl first met on Instagram and started having sex in June. And staying in Nashville, a leading state lawmaker on education is responding to Metro Police Chief John Drake's decision to not apply for money the state has made available to put an SRO in every elementary school. Colioco Republican State Representative Scott Sapicki chairs and is a member of educational committees and tells WTN's Nashville's Morning News.
Rest assured that this discussion will be starting to be had immediately in Cordell Hall on things we can do to make sure that we provide all the necessary tools for Chief Drake to get these individuals into these schools, and whatever help they need, we will provide, but we will be expecting and almost demanding that they staff these positions to protect our children in Tennessee.
And Chief Drake says he doesn't have enough police officers to staff every elementary school in Nashville because he needs those officers patrolling the city. And some entertainment news, multiple records for Taylor Swift's new album release, including one that dethrones Barbra Streisand. Here's more from Jason Nathanson.
Taylor Swift once again using her voice to set records. Her re-recording of her third studio album, Speak Now, is #1 on the Billboard 200 album chart, her 12th #1, setting a record as the woman with the most #1 albums in Billboard history. Barbra Streisand is now second with 11. Speak Now, Taylor's version, also launched with the biggest sales and streaming week of the year for any album. Swift also now has 4 albums in the top 10 at the same time, tying the record for the most simultaneous top 10s by a living person. Herb Alpert also did it in 1966.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.